Did you finish your beer?
Yeah. It was like a 12-ounce beer. You had some of it.
I had like 2 sips. Well,
That is a hard alcohol.
salud nonetheless. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to T3G. This is the Tangents Podcast. My name is Dalibor. I am joined today by my wife, my lovely wife.
Erica.
How are you
I'm
doing?
Erica.
How are you feeling today?
Eh,
Just
just eh.
I feel you.
That's like every day, almost.
Well, it is the Corona times.
Yes.
the Corona.
What was it? The season finale of America.
Season finale of America. Yeah. I like the. What did you just say? The Biden's been elected so many times. He's the 65th president.
67th is
Whatever.
what it said, but yeah.
Whatever. I know. Today they were like, all right, it's official. Electoral College says so, and Trump's like, nah. We gotta look into it still. We gotta look into it. There's been some shit. Like,
It's
just
such
let it
a
go.
waste.
Like, let it fucking go.
Whatever.
Like, let it the fuck go. So, we are going to be going on tangents, but I do want to talk about kind of a follow up. We were going to do this sooner, but just didn't. Follow up to the video that I did by myself, talking about like fatness and
I honestly didn't even watch that video because I have a feeling that it was going to make me angry.
probably,
Yeah.
probably. I stand by my position that fat phobia is not a thing.
I disagree.
Well, hear me out. I don't think it's. I just don't think it's a thing because nobody's afraid of fat people. Like we like to bottle these concepts up in a single word so that we can throw it at someone as a weapon. You call somebody a racist. That's a weapon. You're throwing a weapon at them, as opposed to addressing the actual behavior that they are engaging in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have a lot of fucking shit escalate for no reason. People get defensive when you say racist. People get way more defensive than they would be if you were like, wow, that was a really ignorant thing to say. They may not realize that the thing they said was ignorant. So you say that was a really ignorant thing to say, they might say, but why?
Mm.
If you say that was racist as fuck, I'm not fucking racist.
But then you can still explain why.
But they're not ready to hear why at that point. You're calling them something they're not. You are challenging their very existence. Not like this thing that you did was stupid or whatever, like it was ignorant or it was hateful. This thing that you did. But if you say that was racist as fuck, they see it as I'm being called racist. I'm not racist. You know what I'm saying? So like I think it's, and we do it a lot. We do it sexism. We do it like you call somebody
Fat phobia.
but that's the thing. You're trying to use that thing as a weapon. You're trying to, like, people say fat phobic, and there might be someone. There are lots of people, without question. There are lots of people that they don't like fat people.
Yeah.
For whatever the fuck reason they have for themselves. That's their own internal bullshit. But there are people who don't like fat people. But
there are people who don't even want to be associated with fat people because they feel that it, I guess, reflects on who they are as a person, or they are scared of becoming fat because I think that I think to a degree it's kind of how people explain. I've heard the case before that some people are afraid to let people of color, particularly black people, into power because there's that fear that you will be, if you're a white person, that you would be treated as badly as you have treated black people. Like, there's a fear of retaliation.
Right.
I think to a degree there's similarities that you can draw between like the fatness, where it's like people are afraid that, you know, they do everything they can to keep from getting fat.
Right.
And that they I think that they recognize that if they were to like let themselves go, that they would be treated badly because they probably know how they've treated people that are larger than them.
I see what you're saying. And I see that. Like, I can see where that's coming from. I definitely understand, like, the beauty industry. And I'm just going to go out and say it. This is primarily a female thing. Men don't experience the kind of bullshit you guys do. We just don't.
No.
We just don't.
But
I've
there
been.
are men that experience.
I'm
Like
sure.
you,
I'm
I
sure
think
there
you've
are
been lucky.
examples. I'm sure there are examples, but I've known a lot of fat dudes.
Yeah.
And besides, like, chicks not being into fat dudes, there's not really anything that's like, oh, you're a fat guy, I see. Like, you can't do this, that, or the other thing. No one's laughed at me. No one's looked at me weird for asking a question about a size or whatever the fuck at a store.
But like, I have seen women treat larger men shitty just for the fact
Sure.
that they're larger. And it's not to say that you have to be attracted to it, but I think you need to have the minimal respect as opposed to people that are like, ew, gross.
100%. But I think that's also the same. Those are the same chicks that are going to do the same thing to women.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So those are the same. So and yes, there are 100% men that do the same thing. So the men and women that are shitty to fat people are the men and women that are going to be shitty about a lot of things.
True.
Those are not the people you want to hang out with. They have problems of their own. Maybe they were raised. Maybe mom was fat and dad beat her, and now you, as grown up, you see, oh, he's beating her because she's fat and lazy and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like all the things he says to her, I'm not going to be that because I don't want to get hurt.
Right.
So then they're coming from a place of, that's a bad and dangerous place to be at. So you just lash out against it because you should know better. Like there's just, and that's just one possible example. There could be any number of situations. Like, I just don't, what I have a problem with is this sense of entitlement. And this is primarily the newer generation. I don't know anybody our age or older that is like, why doesn't Abercrombie and Fitch have a size for me? They might ask
that
it.
Person.
Right, but you might ask it, but you're not on fucking Instagram being like, making a fucking thing out of it, right? Like, you might want to wear that shit because you are interested in the fashion of it.
Right.
And you are like, why don't they have it? But you're like, the Gen Zers are on the internet complaining, like trying to make a movement out of why doesn't whatever the fuck store, whatever trendy store.
Well, because they're a multi-million-dollar corporation that has the ability to, and people have said, I have money and I want to buy these things.
And it's a bad business decision. 100%.
I guess unless your stance on things is we're only trying to fit people that we find attractive, which is kind of what they said and why I don't buy anything from them anymore. Because I mean, like, I'm an in-between size and I used to be able to fit in their stuff. It was on the higher end of it and I couldn't fit everything, but every once in a while I could. But I have not set foot in an Abercrombie and Fitch store probably since high school.
And even at on my lightest, it's always been like that. Obviously we're just using this as an example brand, but like this isn't I haven't had any specific interaction with them, but I've always just seen it as like, that's like the rich popular kids brand. Like, I'm not even interested. Like, I personally never just even, plus I don't really like, this is my brand. I wear my shit now.
Yeah.
Like, there was a while where I was wearing like fat guy clothes. I had Arizona Jean Co. all over myself because they're the ones who made fat guy clothes.
Right.
But like, I liked their clothes. They were sturdy jeans, like shit that lasted me a long time.
Right.
Like, I was a very, very much a practical buyer of clothes. Like, I was not a fashion dude. Like, everything I bought it had to last long and it had to fit. Those are the only two requirements I needed. Like,
right.
But like, now that we've become this more, the materialism in this country, let alone society itself, has just exploded. That I think now people are just looking at it even harder, and now you have people like young fat kids, and more often than not young fat women, who are just complaining that these brands don't have shit. And I fully believe that it is a bad business decision.
Oh, for sure.
Because like, there are people with money, make them the thing that they will give you the money. I say that shit for comics all the time. I'm like, put out this book, I will buy it.
I think you have to understand, though, that we're looking at it from like, we're looking back on it now. But if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, at the time that Abercrombie and Fitch was getting people mad at them because they were refusing to create larger sizes. Kind of the only place that you could go as a plus size woman, like even girl, was maybe like Sears in the ladies department. But then you're getting into the mom jeans and the blouses and very much like I'm in my late 30s, early 40s around that time kind of clothing. Or there was Lane Bryant. But again, I feel like around that time, Lane Bryant was still kind of like, you're a mom, but you're fashionable. And so it still was sort of like the more adult, like maybe business casual, going to like a picnic and wanting to look a little nicer. But it wasn't fashionable per se. And then your next option after that was Torrid came along, and if I remember correctly, I think Torrid was an offshoot of Hot Topic, so it was like Hot Topic Plus. So they limited themselves because originally I think what they had was mostly like sense. They did have lingerie. I think they had bustiers. They had, but it was more like it was more like plus size, like band T-shirts and the like bondage pants.
Right.
And maybe there was like a blouse and it had skull and crossbones on it.
Right.
Which they still have stuff like that, but they have extremely expanded to be like, hey, we're your like business casual stop. You want to go dancing? We've got clubbing outfits. We've got everything.
Because band T-shirts and like pop culture shit has seen a major shift.
Mm-hmm.
The pop culture shit is like, if I go to a Hot Topic, I want to be able to buy any Marvel superhero, any DC superhero, every single one of the kids from Stranger Things. Like, I want to be able to buy the whole shebang. So all of the clothing out of that had to turn, like band T-shirts. I would wager if I walked into a Hot Topic right now, you might see a 4, maybe 8 foot section of band tees.
Maybe.
I just don't think it's as big because there used to be a whole wall. One side of the store was all band tees, and I just don't think that's a thing anymore. I think that's become such a niche market because people who are into music are typically older now, and like the younger kids who are like hardcore into bands, they're often into shit that's not big.
Right.
So like they're not, like there's not a Linkin Park of the modern era.
Yeah.
And the people who like Linkin Park are in their fucking 30s and 40s.
Right.
Like.
But my point being, at the time, your choices were, I don't want to look like a mom, and I don't necessarily want to look like, what are they called? Like a Lolita doll.
Jeez.
So I don't think it was too much to ask that people that were above, I don't know, like I think they maybe went up to size 13 in juniors at Sears at the time, maybe. Right. But again, it was like, hey, could I please just get a gingham shirt with 3/4 sleeves that buttons up and fits me? I'd like that too, please.
Yep.
And then people were like, no, you're fat. How dare you want choices?
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
So I think that's the big problem with that. I personally, growing up and having, I guess, maybe matured more into having the options.
Bo, couch.
Go lay down.
Such a little prissy bitch.
Go lay down.
Couch.
Oh, he's laying on the floor. Whatever. I think that I was disadvantaged to a degree in the fact that when I was in my teen years, I didn't immediately have access to the best looking stuff for my body.
Right.
But it came around that time, and so I had more options, and it's grown since then.
Yeah. It's definitely become a better market. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I remember I used to only be able to shop Sears' Big and Tall catalog.
Right.
And that was almost exclusively like Harley shirts, like biker shirts, and then like plaid and flannel and like.
So then you know what that's like.
So like.
But I feel like you still don't care. Like I think like if you needed to have a Harley shirt, you'd be like, fucking Harley shirt.
I mean, shit. Look at the one T-shirt that I've bought that is like a brand T-shirt was that Captain America shirt.
Right.
Like, I've tried. When I've been at conventions, I see a really dope hoodie. hey, what's the biggest size hoodie you have?
3X.
And it's like 2X.
Yeah.
And I like look around, and I'm not the only fat guy there.
No.
Shockingly. And I'm like, are y'all not aware who's here? And they're like, oh, we might have some stuff online. And then like, by the time I get home, I don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That like they could have had my money.
I mean, that's the thing.
There's
when you're
several.
there, you would put the money down.
There's several brands, especially at conventions, that could have had my money. The like weird science shirt and the hood, the science shirt I bought you. Have faith in science or whatever the hell.
The power of science.
The power of science compels you. Yeah, that was a booth. That was a big ass booth,
yeah.
and they had 5X shirts. That tank shirt is from that. And the Thor shirt is from that. I think I bought 4 shirts. I bought you 2 and I bought me 2.
Yep.
And that's the only time I bought clothing at conventions because they were
your size.
Exactly.
But you did like what was on them too.
I did like what was on them, but it's like if I had just seen that online, I don't know that I would have bought it. But it was like, I'm at a convention. I'm here to spend money.
You can make sure the 5X is actually a 5X.
Exactly. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna buy these. But more so recently, I'm very much more interested in just making my own shit.
Right.
So like, I like the advent of, there are all the Teesprings and the TeePublics and fucking 30 other ones where you can just order a t-shirt online. So like, I'm not limited to my 5 gray and 5 black shirts that I made for myself.
Now, like, you wouldn't have had that. I mean, I think the internet was not terrible when we were growing up. Like, you wouldn't have had that option.
No, I didn't. I wore polos. I wore polos since junior year of high school because that's all I could buy.
Right.
Fat dudes were big corporate men. They wore polos.
I think
like
and I struggle with this. I don't know. I struggle with it myself, and I recognize that it's something that.
Oh, he's trying to go eat. Can you grab him?
Motherfucker.
So you were saying.
I was saying. I sometimes have trouble deciding how I should feel or like what position I should take on things because I'm an in-between size. I go anywhere from like a size 10 to a size 14. So sometimes I'm on the like straight size and sometimes I'm on the plus size. How to explain it? I do like the body acceptance movement, but sometimes I worry that it does get, I suppose, radicalized when people act like you have to embrace it for everyone and everything and yourself, and that there's like no accountability or no, I guess, thought to it. But at the same time, I don't know.
I think
this is the stuff that keeps me up a lot because it's sort of like I never know what position to take or where I stand on it and this and that. But I guess it's sometimes when I look at it, I think I kind of I'm sort of the mind that if a place wasn't going to cater to plus size, then I think that plus size companies should open up and you're going to take your money there. I don't think that a plus size company needs to cater to straight sizes. And if I feel that way, I don't know that I necessarily need to feel that a straight size company needs to cater to plus size. I think it was just more of the way that Abercrombie was shitty about it because they had the ability.
And I'm sure other companies have been as well.
Yeah. It's like, this is why I won't shop at Lululemon. Was just their attitude about stuff because when I went, and this was years ago, and now they do have plus size, but I won't go. I won't go because the first time I ever went into a Lululemon,
aren't they at MLM?
No, I don't think so.
I think they're at MLM.
They've got like storefronts. Like you can go to the mall and go to like a Lululemon.
Yeah, you could buy Mary Kay at fucking Target too. What's your point?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think they're an MLM. I think they're just a company.
I was just reading something the other day that mentioned them in like a list of MLMs.
But like I had been getting in better shape, and I think at that point I was maybe a size 12, I want to say. And I came in and they were just like, they acted like they were like allergic to my presence. And when I asked about sizing, they kind of sized me up and
was that the place where we went and you were asking about the like brand ambassador program?
No. That's Athleta. Athleta has higher
But
stuff.
I felt like they were also kind of dismissive of you because you were not like the athletic, like ideal
No.
athletic personality.
No. They just the location that I went to. I mean, okay, this is like a sidebar of a sidebar. I will say that I was disappointed in the way that they handled dealing with me because I was interested in their ambassador program.
Right.
Yeah. And so I went there and said I'd like to do it, but apparently at the time only certain stores had the ability to select their own ambassadors. Like you'd be an ambassador for Athleta, but you were, I guess, like vetted or authorized through a store, like you were attached to a store.
I kind of like that.
So it'd be like this store can
concept.
pick 1 or 2 people.
Right.
This other one can't. So at the time, that store was not authorized to have any.
I see.
So they were like, we can't do any.
Which is ironic because they were kind of in a hoity-toity rich
yeah,
area.
and they did pretty well. So no, when I contacted them, when I went there, they were just kind of like, we don't have the availability right now. Like, try back. And so, like, I'd reached out to them, and I kept reaching out to Athleta directly. And, you know, they were like, well, apply at the place, keep looking for it, see if there's availability. And I just, you know, after trying for, like, X amount of years and being told no, I stopped. And even though I, like, reached out to them constantly and I'd gone to the store and I gave them my information, they ended up doing an ambassador program not that long after the last time I went to see them. And then I just missed it. And so I guess I can't blame them for not picking me if I wasn't in the ring at the time, but I had already reached out to them ahead of time. So I feel like they maybe should have had an idea about me.
You would think so. But that also could be management and could be a number of things.
They ended up going with a very, very conventionally attractive person, which is not to say anything negative about that person because I loosely know that person and they are a hard worker and they're very athletic and they wear the clothes and there's no reason they shouldn't have been.
Right.
I just felt like I got the shaft, and that has nothing to do with them. And
that's like an important distinction to make. Like you're in no way shitting on someone because they, you know, won. Mm-hmm. You're just, hey, I was already there, and it kind of seems like I wasn't even considered.
Right.
Like I was already saying, like, hey, I'll do it. You know, like.
Right.
And then that goes for any number of things. Like if somebody was like, hey, I need somebody to cater my wedding, and you were like, yo, and you've been telling this person who's about to get married for years, you love cooking, you've been doing all these events, blah, blah, blah. And they probably don't even ask.
Tried your food or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I would go into the store and I would buy stuff from them.
Yeah.
I would post about their stuff. So
yeah, and then they're just posting on Facebook saying like, does anyone know a caterer?
Yeah.
And you as that caterer friend, you'd be like, wow.
So that was disappointing. But no, that was a totally different thing. No, Lululemon, I went in there and I think I asked them about either a particular size pant or a skirt. I might not even have been anything specific. I asked them about something and they basically looked at me and were like, we don't have your size.
See, and I feel like that's a fashion store / fashion industry thing. Yeah. Because I used to work across the street from a Torrid. And them bitches acted the same exact way. Like they were like super dismissive. Mm-hmm. They like, at least from my perspective, like from what I saw happen.
Okay.
You saw really big women go in there.
Right.
And you saw all the employees like would huddle up and giggle, or like thin women would go in there. Same thing. Like almost like, what are you doing here? Like, but it was just like you'd see it happen. Like they were always chatty with each other, but it's just like when these things happened.
Right.
Literally, I was like, it was what's it called? St. Charles Mall. So my Radio Shack store was on one side. I saw the entire Torrid storefront from my store. Mm-hmm. So like every time, not every time, but like when I would notice, I was like, oh wow, like because I mean I'm not gonna say that I don't notice people like. See a fat woman going, I'm like, all right, probably going to Torrid, because there was no Ed store, the corner stores. We didn't have one. We were just like in a dead corner.
You do realize that fat women also go to jewelry stores and stores that aren't their size to buy gifts for people.
Absolutely.
You made assumptions of a fat woman walking in the direction of Torrid.
I'm not.
You proved the point.
I'm right, but I didn't like go and huddle up with people and be like, ha ha ha, look at that. I noticed. I wasn't like telling people about it, but I'm just saying like I would be cleaning up or whatever I'm doing, finishing up with a customer, look up, see someone walk in that direction, and then I see them go in, and they sometimes wouldn't say hi, and I thought that was just rude as shit.
Yeah.
It was a dying mall, so like to me, I was saying hi to every single person passing by. Like I was trying to get as much business in my store as I could. So for me, I was like, y'all are stupid. Like,
right.
So like sometimes they wouldn't say hi, but then like other times I would just see them legitimately be like hi, and then like would scurry off behind the counter, and like the three of, because there was like three women that always worked there. They would just like huddle up together and then kind of like look back at her. And I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
That maybe when you were working there, Torrid was newer, so people might not have known what it was. And also Torrid has, I think, changed their sizes over the years. I feel like when I first started going, they started at size 12. It was like 12 to 18 or 20. I could be wrong, but it wasn't. But I think now maybe they even go up to 24 and they go down to 10, which like 10 is still considered straight size. Because I think when I was going there and I was a 12, that was considered 0. And now they have like 00, and that's a 10, I think, is how it works now.
I gotta give you a hats off, because for you to navigate female clothes sizing is a challenge in and of itself. You explained it to me, and I still don't fucking get it. Like, there are so many numbers, and they start at different ranges, and the 00. Why can't that just be 0 and then 0 is 1?
The problem with the shopping too is that, and you will find this, and it's like I probably see it more because obviously the type of stuff I look at caters to me more on like Instagram and TikTok and anything else and YouTube, Facebook.
Right.
But like you will constantly see, at least I constantly see posts where they're kind of like, what is up with pants sizing for women? And you'll have women that will take, like, I don't know, $1,000, and they'll go to 10 or 20 stores that people know. They'll go to like Target, they'll go to Old Navy, they'll go to Abercrombie and Fitch, they'll go wherever, and they buy size 14, and then they like lay them on top of each other, and one will be like this. Can you see? Yeah, one will be like this, and then the other one's like this, and it's like, this is a size 14. It should be the same. Whereas with men, and it's not to say that places don't mess it up, but it's like inches. It's in inches. Inches are inches.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I don't get the numbers at all. Like, to me, 12 inches, I've met someone who was 12 inches at the waist. Because literally her, like, end to end of her waist was this, which is about 6 inches. And like, she had a 12-inch waist.
The 12 doesn't
her
have anything
size,
to do with inches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Her size was 00, and even that was loose on her.
Right.
And I was just like, so what is your actual waist size?
And most of us don't know unless you like measure yourself if you're buying something and you're looking at like a size chart.
Like, and that's the thing, is like all of these numbers, whereas I'm just like waist and inseam. Those are the only two numbers I need to know.
Yeah.
Like, on a practical level, if I'm buying a shirt, I don't have to know any of these numbers because they measure for this stuff.
I think it's
for upper body, they'll measure. T-shirts are like XL, double, whatever, 5X. Pants, I need to know 2 numbers. You guys have bra sizes and waist size and hip size and cup size is not necessarily bra size. Like I said, the number game. Like, you tell me like you're not great at math. Some people say they're not great at math. Women are math fucking geniuses as far as I'm concerned.
I learned something about bras that I didn't realize. I learned this, I want to say, like about 10 years ago. I used to think that the measurement was your measurement,
right?
And that the cup was how big your boobs are.
That makes sense.
But the measurement should be your rib cage, but the cup size varies. It's not like linear like you would think it would be. It's weird. And they have like sister bra sizes too. It's complicated. I always thought it was like, okay, well, if somebody's, a 40 triple F, they're going to have huge boobs.
That's terrifying.
Which they might, but if you have somebody that's like a 30 double F, they might only be the same cup size as I am. They just have a smaller rib cage. But because of like the ratio or something. It's weird.
Yeah, that hurts my brain to such a degree that I can't describe. But like, so to kind of get back to what we were saying, to like, as far as, like I said, I think you and women in general have been treated very poorly by the fashion industry in general, like on a very broad level. And I have personally seen situations where individually at a store level, in interactions, people get shitty treatment and people get, I mean, like you said, you've been laughed at for asking shit.
Yeah.
That blows my fucking mind. Never once have I been laughed at for asking for a size. Right. Even at the fat guy store, I lean like weirdly at my fucking size. I'm like middle of the road.
Yeah.
And to me, that doesn't make sense because I'm thinking like, how are you live?
It is odd because like I know guys that are bigger around than you, but I know very few people that are as tall as you.
I'm a cardinal sin in the fat guy community.
So it's so weird to me when we go. It's weird to me when we go into the big and tall to see that they make stuff for dudes that are even taller and even bigger around than you.
They make
and
shit.
I'm like, where are these dudes? I've never seen
them.
They
make shit.
They're probably hiding because people are assholes.
Well, because weren't you saying before, like our last podcast, you said that you were looking for a dude that was tall and fluffy. And you couldn't find him. And I was like, you could have just gone into a fucking DXL at any time.
I should have been bursting at the DXL.
Just showing up, be like, you just love shopping around.
Isn't there like
just
an
browsing.
Olive Garden right nearby? I should have just like parked outside with a tray of fettuccine Alfredo.
Yes.
I'm like, hey, how you doing?
Yes.
I got this 2-for-1 coupon.
Yes. Yeah. That's a smart.
But that's
ladies,
also
ladies,
being an
if you're
asshole
looking
because
for
it's making an assumption that they're eating like that, and they might not be.
First of all, it doesn't have to be fettuccine Alfredo. You can have a salad on there. You can have a whole mix.
You can have whatever you want.
Just saying, ladies, this is a smart plan. I put my fat guy rubber stamp on it. This is how you get a man. You stand outside of DXL with some fettuccine Alfredo.
Yes.
Man, but
like,
that's
I'm
like
looking for my king size.
Ha! Yes, yeah, I'm telling you. But that's the thing. Like, I've never been looked at weird when I ask for a big shoe size. People are just like, "Oh wow, you got big feet."
Yeah.
No one's ever been like, "Holy shit, you're huge." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got big feet.
Yeah.
You know, like, and but even.
But I suppose like even they don't really have attendance as much in stores anymore. But have you ever gone into? See, because the thing is, like, you were maybe going to Kmart or Kohl's even.
I was ordering. I was only ordering. When I went with you, we went to, was it Kohl's? When I got down to a 50 waist, and I bought pants at Kohl's. I made a big fucking deal out of it because I hadn't bought pants in a store since 7th grade.
Right. Because I have been in situations where it's been an awkward situation where whoever's working at the store has actively tried to discourage me from trying something on because I'm assuming that they were afraid that I would bust it open or something.
You better not pee
that
on
I'd
it,
break it or whatever. Right. And I mean, I guess I can't fault you for caring about your stuff. And if somebody clearly wasn't going to fit into something, I don't know what the proper way around that would be. But it was like, you have two options. You can either just tell them like, well, go fuck yourself, and you walk out and you take your money nowhere else because no one else has your fucking size.
Right.
Or you try it on and it fits and then you buy it and you fucking smirk the whole time because you can suck my dick. It fit just fine. In fact, there was room. So.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I've never been in that position. Like, if anything, I like at fat guy stores, I have almost seen like a overwhelming desire to like earn my money.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
To the degree of like, it's very, like I feel like the way I feel when I'm at
you
trying
want
shit
these
out.
Pants? What color do you like? These 3 color shirts go with them. How about ties? You want ties? Shoes?
I legitimately feel like I could just like on accident rip a shirt wide the fuck open.
Right.
And they'd be like, you know what, we'll get you a different size. Let's do a quick measurement. Like, I feel like they would just gloss it over.
Because that shit does not, I mean, here, that's another problem, is that they're probably using child labor somewhere or like questionable conditions.
Jesus, you went there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there. But
Couch.
People are talking about, oh, you should spend more money if you're a larger size. You should spend more money because more fabric. But at the end of the day, like that shirt probably cost them maybe $5, maybe, and
Couch.
they're selling it for $50, and so it is your God-given right to rip that shirt.
You God-given right to rip that shirt. Bo, go lie down. Couch.
Because you know what? They're either going to just write it off as a loss or insurance or whatever, or they're just going to order another shirt for $5 and charge the next person $65 and they're fine.
Right. Couch.
Because they can discount that stuff like 60% and still make money. Because that's how much they mark it up.
Couch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's we were talking about this earlier is the price of shit. You know, people say, oh, well, you know, bigger sizes cost more because there's more material. To a point, yes, but then somebody brought up a real point of why do baby clothes cost $30 fucking?
Depends on the baby clothes, though.
A lot of time.
But yeah,
like you can pick up like a $5 onesie or whatever for a baby.
But I can get a $5 adult shirt.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're both cheap and shitty.
Right.
But you get something nice. A child onesie, which is less than even a small t-shirt fabric.
Yeah.
Costs more money than that t-shirt.
Yep.
Almost always.
Oh yeah.
So the logic is not there. I'm okay. I personally am okay with paying more for my clothes. To me, I do see it as a fat tax. Again, I am in a situation where the majority of my weight problem is self-induced. I know this is nobody else's fault.
Right.
Like this is not a thing that happened to me. This isn't like, oh, I don't have the necessary medication. I do not have a medical condition. Like we know somebody who has a medical condition. I think I talked about it in the last video. Like from her wedding to the next time I saw her, I went to visit at their house. It was like a couple years later. And I was talking to her husband and I was like, yo, like, I'm legitimately concerned. Like, she's gained a shit ton of weight. Mm-hmm. And I was genuinely, like, not about her fucking size, but I just...
Yeah.
That's family to me. Like, I love that woman. Like, I was like, that's dangerous. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's bad when I gain a lot of weight in a short period of time. So I was like, dude. And then, like, maybe not even another 2 years later. And he had said, like, I brought it up to her, blah, blah, blah. And not even 2 years later, I see her. And she was basically down to, like, day one when I met her. Mm-hmm. She was still, like, a chubbier girl. But, like, back to where I felt like she seemed comfortable. She seemed healthy. And that's kind of where she's been at. And even after a kid, I went to her. I was like, yo, what's your secret? Because I'm like, I need something. Right. I'm like, everything I'm trying is not working. And she was like, so it turns out I have a thyroid situation. Mm-hmm. I had been on thyroid medication. Yeah. I had a doctor that was like, this isn't the way. Like, this isn't doing anything for you. Just stop taking it. Because doctors are, to their credit, doctors typically are trying to get you off of medication. Right. They're not trying to have you take medication. So this doctor was like, stop taking medication. It's not doing anything for you. She ended up getting a different GP, and the GP was like, no, you have a thyroid condition. You need to take your thyroid medication. And she started taking it again, and it resolved whatever that situation was. So, like, I don't have that problem. That for me, it's not a medical thing. I don't want to say I was thin. I was never like.
Do you know that you don't have a thyroid problem? Have you had that tested?
No, but my behavioral changes have directly led to me losing or gaining weight.
Right.
So it's not something where like I'm eating less and I'm gaining weight.
Right.
It's never been that. For me, it's very much like I got to America, I started eating way more sugar. Holy shit, way more sugar, because I started eating cereal and all this shit. Butter was a thing. I never knew about butter until I got here. I ate so much more processed shit. We used to make all of our food, then we didn't.
You walk less.
I walked way less.
You're not doing as hard of work.
My mom, I'm just talking about even just when I first got here. Yeah. I mean, I gained, if I was to guess, plus I hit puberty, so like I shot up vertically.
Yeah.
And on top of that, My mom was super scared of everything, so like I wasn't allowed to go out. I didn't go hang out with people. I walked to school and back, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I stayed in my apartment. And then when we moved to the suburbs, basically the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like I got yelled at because I stayed out one night, literally on the other side of the apartment complex where I used to live, playing soccer. I was playing soccer. Me and my cousin were playing soccer, and I came home and she was like, "I told you to be back by 7. Blah blah. Go to sleep without food." Mm. Like that's it. I didn't get dinner. Like I was crying because I was so afraid just because she had gotten so mad.
Yeah.
Like that's the life I had. I was super incredibly sedentary, and that was a difference from when I was a kid in Bosnia. You walk everywhere. Everything was outside. There was no inside activity. You didn't do shit indoors. Indoors was where you ate, slept, and took a dump. After that, go do something. Yeah. Like for there to be, even with TV, I felt like TV was an evening thing. I don't ever remember watching TV during the day.
Yeah.
Once when I was sick. You know, like, other than that, TV was like an after dinner thing.
Yeah.
And even then, you're going to sleep pretty soon after dinner. So, like, it was never hours of TV. But when I got here, it was school, sitting all day, a little bit of gym time, obviously. That's forced, thankfully. Come back home, and then it's me and the TV for all the rest of the hours. And the only time that changed is when I got more active. Right. The year I met you, I literally, kind of like this year when we started our diet a couple months ago now, almost a few months ago. No, I think 3. Now 3. No, 2 officially this week. 2 months. So when we started our diet a couple months ago, it was very much like whatever I had the night before. It doesn't matter how bad it was. Like because I went hard the last couple days.
Right.
Monday, I was having spinach and a carb, and I had a very specific thing of. So in 2011, that's what happened. I woke up one day and I went from 4 eggs, cheese, sausage, 6 to 8 pieces of toast.
I can't even.
I'll make a good ass breakfast, y'all. To 2 eggs microwaved, maybe some greens, a sprinkle of cheese. Mm-hmm. And that was a different universe. My mom even looked at me. She's like, is that going to be enough? And I said, it's going to have to be. Mm-hmm. Started walking every single day. And in 1 month, I lost 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I changed all of my behavior.
Excess weight. And that's the thing is that when you have a lot of excess weight, it's easy to drop that initially, but then people plateau. And it just tends to kind of get harder and harder.
Of course. And it's going to, especially when you get older. My doctor said, you're going to have to lift now. Because muscles stop growing at 40.
Oh.
I was like, noted. Fucking noted. I'm going to keep that shit in mind. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 years to bulk up. Other than that, it's going to be difficult after that.
For me, it was basically once I started heading into puberty, which I did when I was younger. I think I kind of my body started changing around the time I was 8. And then I think I was really almost full into puberty when I was 10. That's when it all came on. Because I had been really, in some ways I'd been sedentary, but in other ways I was very active. And I used to be able to do, just for funsies, I would hang off the bed and do 100 curl-ups. Hanging curl-ups.
What's funny is I used to do that at Jewel. Because I used to push carts.
Yeah.
And you know those double lane corrals?
Oh, yeah.
So I would sit on one end. I would tuck my legs under the middle, and I would do abs.
Nice.
So this was 2002, 2003 when I was there.
Wait, but were you hanging all the way down?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was just I would go all the way back and do full up. And that's when I did in 2011. That was the other thing. I would do a walk, and halfway in the walk, there was a bench because it was over in the Bloomingdale, that the loop around the reservoir. Mm-hmm. There's that bench. So I would do the same thing. I would kick my legs under the opposite side bench, and I would do sit-ups.
Yeah.
And that was like the additional thing. And then when I didn't do that, I'd come home and I'd do abs right after. And yeah, I've actually struggled to try to remember what else I did food wise. Because like my mom was in charge of grocery shopping, so like it was very much like
you eat what's in the house.
You eat what's in the house. So like I was thinking that I actually think I was just eating maybe 4 eggs a day. Yeah. Like 2 in the morning microwave and 2 in the afternoon microwave. Because I literally can't remember eating anything else during that time.
Well, I mean, if it was anything growing up, like when I met your mom, like, you know, deli, lunch meat, and processed cheese and eggs. There wasn't bread. There wasn't a whole lot of like fresh.
Yeah, and I gave up bread during that period.
Or anything. Or
yeah,
nuts.
I gave up bread during that period. We didn't really have vegetables. We might have she might have made like a beans, you know, some grach. But other than that, yeah, I really think I was just super, super limited diet. I was walking every day. I started with 1 mile, and when that got boring and easy, I started doing 3.
Yeah.
And that was basically it. And then I met you, and you were like, "Have you, perchance, heard of flavors?" And here we are trying to do this thing again. You know, hey, but you know what? I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself. I lost 30 plus pounds. I was over 500. And we don't know how far over because I was weighed at 500 last year, and legitimately, my trainer at the gym was like, we're not gonna do, because it's a specialty machine that has to weigh me. It's the full body scan machine. It's the only thing that'll support me basically, because it's the same thing they have to do at the doctors.
Yeah.
They have like a body scan machine, and they tested me because it was funny because it was the same day. I went to the doctor and went to the gym, and I had the same, and I like from 11 a.m. at the doctor to like 3 p.m. when I did the thing at the gym, I gained like 2 pounds. And I was like at 501 and some change. And he was like, "Listen, you're not making the changes necessary, and I don't see you taking this seriously. So we're not going to do this test anymore till I see you in here consistently." And I thought that was fair. I wasn't taking it seriously. I wasn't.
You had to pay for that, so there's like no reason.
They stopped charging.
Oh, okay.
They stopped charging for it. They were paying for it originally. I was paying for it originally, but then they stopped charging for it. But regardless, it was something that like it took time out of his day for me to meet up with him. That machine also goes between a couple locations, so like he had to make sure he had it there. There was an effort.
There was no point.
Exactly. There was multiple reasons for him, but also on a very real level, Alex cares. Like Alex legitimately cares, and he's the first like trainer dude, because he showed me a video that he was on American Ninja, and he showed me his like little sample video that he made them, and he showed a video of himself when he was a kid, picture a video like when he was a kid, and he was a fat kid. Like he wasn't as big as I am, but he was a fat kid.
Aww.
And now he's very fit and like scary fit. Some of the shit he does, but it's like
he's not crazy about it though. Like he works.
He's
out,
not. Yeah,
but
he's not. But he does like fun,
he's not like
crazy shit. Right. But he just does fun, crazy shit. Like he did that for the second year that he tried to get on American Ninja Warrior. So the first year he did this like a crawl across a bridge, but he did a tall bridge, so he was like just vertical, and he did the thing. For the second one, he found like a short ass bridge over like a stream, and he did like a full tuck, like seated thing. So he was just like he was holding his whole lower half up, went across the whole thing, just like I was like, dude, you're nuts. Like that's so. But like he's not trying to do it for whatever. He just loves doing that shit.
Well, I liked it too because he was kind of the first fitness professional I met that didn't say like you have to be this size or you should weigh this. Because he asked me like, what are your goals?
Right.
And I think he maybe asked me what I wanted to weigh, because I've met fitness professionals that are like, you should be this.
Right.
And so that was really like a breath of fresh air, because I said, for example, my body reacts different. I mean, everyone's does. My body especially reacts differently to different exercises and different things that I eat.
Right.
So it's one of those things where okay, if I'm like not working out, but let's say I'm being calorie restrictive, let's say that I would like to get down to 150. I don't know. It's just a number I'm throwing out. But I said I didn't mind being 180 if it was like muscle.
Right.
I wasn't worried about, so, I am mindful of what the scale says. I think it's a guide, but I wasn't like beholden to it of I have to weigh this specific amount. It was more of like, if this, then this, if this, then this.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's the same thing I told my doctor the other day. So I'll get to that in a second. So I had, when he tested me, I was 5'5", and then early this year, I ended up in the boot. I even was more sedentary because I legit couldn't even move around the house. So I would like come down here and I would be down here until I had to go to work. Like I was not getting up even to like get myself a drink. Like I brought down a drink, and if I drank it all, I drank it all. So like, I'm sure if I had to guess, I was probably 5'10", 5'15". That's a guess.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't know, but then, you did the second study with the Nutrisystem. It made a lot more sense. Like, I don't know, it just hit different because we had the same conversation the first time you did the Nutrisystem thing. And to me, at that time, it didn't even seem appealing. It didn't seem interesting. It didn't even seem like something I wanted to do.
And for me, it's been hard because it's like the first time I did Nutrisystem, I lost a lot of weight. And granted, I was on it for 3 months, but I lost a lot.
And you were also doing a shit ton of Zumba.
That's part of it, too. I was doing a lot more workouts. But the first time, it just was like, it just kind of felt relatively easy.
Right.
Until it didn't. Eventually, I hit a wall. And then to do it this time was sort of like, it just felt like a lot harder because I'm a few years older and I don't know.
Well, you're older, but you're also way more sedentary. I mean, you're doing 2 classes of Zumba. You were pushing damn near a class a day before.
Which is
so
like why
you're talking 60 hours. No, that's not 60. Not. I can't. But like 6 hours. Yeah. Like 6 to 7 hours of Zumba of like HIIT workout.
But then I
versus
injured myself because it was just
too
much.
Right. It was too much. There's definitely pluses and minuses across the board of every approach. Right. So like you can't go too crazy with workouts. I think part of the reason I got into the boot this year is because I was trying weird shit with my workouts and when I was doing them last year, and I think I ended up. I honestly think I ended up fucking it up this year. I don't think this was from like that original jump, like when I was 19.
Oh yeah.
Because I was thinking about it, and when my doctor was telling me about it, like it didn't even hit me at that time, but this hit me like recently. When I started doing box jumps, I did it by myself, and I was jumping off as well as jumping on, and like after like 2 or 3, Alex happened to like walk by and see me, and he was like, "Yeah, don't jump off of them. Like you could fuck your shit up. Yeah. Like climb off, jump back up. Yeah. That's like the whole point is the jump, not the landing." So, but I think that might have been when I fucked it up because I was jumping off like a foot off the ground, but like I'm big as shit, so like.
Well, and this is the problem I run into is that, a lot of people will argue, well, if you really care that much about your health and if you really want to get in shape, nothing should stop you. The only excuse is yourself. And
that's bullshit.
And to some degree, it's true. There's a lot of stuff that you can find online. There's a lot of things that you can do at home. That's not to say that you can't do anything. Like I have a friend who's a stay-at-home mom, and she was saying, she can't afford to go to the gym. She can't find the time to find people to watch her kids. So she's like, what am I supposed to do? And there are like things you can do. And if you go on YouTube, you can find like, workouts with laundry detergent bottles.
Yeah,
or there's even stuff where it's like, ways to like play with your baby, but turn it into a workout. There's stuff that you can.
That's what I do with Pepper sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll be picking up Pepper and just like.
But yeah, so I mean, there's things you can do, but at the same time, you run the risk that if you're not being supervised by a professional, you can majorly mess up anything. Your feet, your back, your whatever.
Especially if you're not familiar.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not familiar with workouts. Like, thankfully, I have been in a situation where, like, I went to high school in the suburbs. When we did weightlifting classes, like, we had a dude who was, like, an actual, like, weightlifter. Like, because we had, like, our gym classes were weird. We had, like, alternated teachers. Because we had a weight day and we had an outdoor track day. And each one of those days was, like, a different teacher.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird now that I think about it. I don't understand the structure really. But the weight days we had, I forget his name, but like the dude he's built like those fucking massive squat dudes. He's short, but he's like bulky as shit. He was fat too, but like you could tell the dude was powerful. Like he had massive legs. I think he was probably doing deadlifting. But like he knew what the fuck he was talking about when it came to weights. So like I knew how to, like I learned in high school how to handle weights and how to, not fuck my shit up from lifting shit in weird ways. And then on top of that, like I've worked out with Hottest, and Hottest has done a lot of research on the subject, and he's very familiar with it because he really enjoys working out.
Yeah.
So like I'm lucky in that way. But yeah, if you're not doing it right, if your stance is off even a little bit, you could twist something in a weird way that'll fuck your day, life, week up.
I think the other thing that people don't consider is that, if there's nothing else wrong with you health-wise, I think people put too much weight into weight. And there are people who just do not like to work out. They don't want to. They don't like it. They don't like how it feels. To a degree, I think for some people, it's just like it is going to be uncomfortable in the beginning because either you're just not as strong as you could or should be, or, it's just harder because you're out of shape. And I do think to a degree, if you're interested in it, you can train yourself into getting better and eventually liking it. Like I never particularly loved running, but I got better at it. And so like the better at it I was, the more enjoyable it was. And I did like the racing aspect of it. And just the kind of like seeing how personally I got better. But some people don't care about that shit. And I don't think they have to.
Running. I hate running Hottest.
But there's some people that just don't want to work out at all. Like they might like to go out and go dancing, but they're just doing that for fun. They're not doing it to work out.
Yeah.
But there are people who are genuinely like, I am 300 pounds. I hate yoga. I have no desire to run. I don't like getting on bikes. I don't like sweating. I hate this. I don't want to do any of it. I would rather watch soap operas, or I would rather take my dog for a walk, which is fine in and of itself, like something easy. Like they're like, I don't want to. And I don't see any reason that people should force people to want to or need to if they're fine otherwise.
100%. No one should force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. 100%. I don't want to hear that kind of bullshit from anyone complaining about their weight, though. Anyone complaining about the difficulties of being fat, the difficulties of being overweight, the difficulties of finding clothes or whatever the fuck. I don't want to hear those two ideas coming from the same person. Because then if you are bitching about your situation and then you're like, well, but I don't like doing any of this shit. Yeah, well then you can't bitch about that situation. You can't. Like you can't bitch about, oh man, it's so uncomfortable to be this big. I can't tie my shoe. Like that's why my doctor asked me, what's your goal weight? And I was like, I don't have a number. Like I'm not going to give you a number because I think that's stupid. To me, that's like one of those unattainable goal things that I'm like very guilty of. I'll be like, I'm going to hit 300. And now, to me, that's a 270.
Yeah. Or
that's 170 pounds that I have to figure out how to lose.
Right. It's daunting.
Because that was like where I was going with this. Is that I'm at 470 as of a few days ago. So like, 170 pounds. Like I feel like I need to chop a leg off. That's what that feels like. So I told her, I'm like, I'm looking for quality of life improvements. I want to be able to bend over and tie my shoe.
Right.
Like I want to be able to bend over, tie my shoe without like having to like kind of twist my leg and to get to it because my stomach's in the way.
And for me, that was like my most recent thing where I had gotten to my highest weight that I've ever been. And I was also the biggest size that I had ever been, including when I injured myself many years ago. And it just was super incredibly uncomfortable to put my shoes on.
And that's the thing.
And so for me, it was like I wasn't even at a point where I'm like, oh, I have to get back to like when I was, doing half marathons. It just was, I just want to tie my shoes and not feel like I'm going to puke.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It makes sense. But like for anybody that's bitching about those things, the things that are it's hard to do or more difficult because whatever, like I've broken many toilet seats because of my big ass. Like there's just no way around that. But like if I'm sitting here bitching about that and then I'm like, I'm not going to eat less. I'm not going to fucking work out. I'm not going to go for a walk. Well, then I can't bitch about that because then I am choosing one. I'm choosing that because I don't think
have mixed feelings about that.
Now, I will not say that there is a possibility of there being mental issues regarding working out. You might have a lot of shame. You might be dealing with a lot of shame, and you're just over processing of, well, if I go to the gym, they're gonna stare at me, and that's gonna feel bad. Like you're already putting yourself before you ever step foot in the gym, in your head, someone's already laughing at you.
Well, because I think that's a very real possibility.
It's a very real possibility,
one of the
but
big problems you run into is that in going back to the like plus size clothing, you have a lot of women who are much larger than I am, who did want to work out,
right.
And they also wanted to look cute, be that however they felt it was, or if they wanted to appease other people, I don't know, but they're like, I would like cute leggings. I would like a nice shirt that is flattering, that I could go to the gym and then, go like grab a quick drink with the friends. But people are so shitty because they'll be like, ew, look at that fat person over there being fat and offending me. Why don't they just get on a treadmill? And then they show up to get on a treadmill and they're like, look at that fatty on the treadmill. Or like, why is that person wearing clothes that I deem are not flattering for them? They should only wear sweatpants and oversized white shirts.
100%. And
so it's like,
that's a huge,
okay,
that's a real thing.
You told me to work out. Here I am. Why do you have anything to say?
It's very much a double-edged sword, without question. But that is not to me. That I think. Empirically, that is a mental issue. That is a you're allowing this potential negative situation.
Go ahead.
He thought you were gonna swing at him.
No.
He was like,
Not my baby.
Like that's a real thing, but I think that's very much a mental issue. It was for me for a long time. Mm-hmm. I felt that. I felt like I'm gonna go to the gym and someone's gonna say some shit. Like I used to very much like. I felt like I cannot explain to you how bad, like if I would catch myself at school and my shirt was under my titty, how horrible that felt. Oh. I cannot bring myself, like I can't find the words to explain it.
Right.
But now it happens and I'm like, all right. And I move on with my day. Well, but like I used to sit like this so that it wouldn't happen.
Which probably just made you look bigger because you're hunched over.
Yeah, exactly. So like it very much, like I get that there's a mental factor to just getting to the gym. Yeah. For me, that's the biggest part. Once I'm at the gym, I'll find something to do. Even if if I'm like, I don't want to fucking work hard today, I'll just get on the bike for 30 minutes. Or if not 30, 15. I will do something once I'm there. But the getting there, for me, that's like the biggest hurdle. When it's not the COVID times and I can go to the gym, my biggest obstacle is here to that door. Mm-hmm. Once I'm at the door, I can go. Yeah. I can do whatever I need to do. But like I think that's a big factor of people saying like I don't like going to the gym. I don't like doing this. I don't like that. They are expecting these bad things, and I think at some point you just gotta. And I think that's kind of where I'm at now, honestly, is I'm prioritizing the fact that I want to be here longer. Yeah. And I want, even if my clock runs out at 60, I want that time to be easier.
Right.
I don't want to be in a hospital for 3 months at a time. I don't want to go to the hospital because of a heart attack. Now, I'm not saying skinny people can't have heart attacks, but I'm saying like, if I make better food decisions, that's going to repair the insides for me.
Right.
At which point it is going to be easier to work out because I'm going to lose weight naturally because I've lost 30 plus pounds already. Like, I'm going to lose weight. Plus it's just going to be easier because I'm not feeling gross.
Right.
Like 6 months ago, I was waking up like just legitimately feeling gross. Like I'm super sweaty and I'm oily. And I'm sure like my reflection here makes me look like I'm super oily anyway. But I just mean like I would wake up and like the back of my head, like, where the pillow hits, like all of it just
even
greasy.
I've noticed, like, you know that I always like teased you that you like your sweat is sour.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't been smelling as bad.
And that's a real thing.
Whatever
that's
that
not,
was I don't know.
I'm sure it was the fast food. I'm sure it was the fried chicken every other fucking day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was not eating great. I was not making smart decisions. But now it's very much like we had fried chicken. I had fried chicken the other day. But
I didn't have fried chicken.
yesterday, because we had our garage Christmas, our garage abridged Christmas meeting, and the day before I ate kind of shitty.
Mm-hmm.
But then this morning I woke up, made myself some spinach and garlic and
chicken. No, wait.
No, I did the pork because we had the pork. And an egg, but like a little bit of pork, a little bit of egg, one egg, and then the celery.
Yeah.
On some bread, like the same shit I normally do. And like, it was not like, oh, I gotta force myself into this. Like I am mentally
back to it.
Like, yeah, I'm not. I'm mentally in a better place.
Yeah.
Like, and that feels really fucking good. It makes things just easier. When it comes down to like, all right, what do I eat? I'm not sitting there like, all right, well, if I do that, like I can make a few eggs, and then I'm in my head, I'm like, that doesn't feel like enough. And then like, I start adding shit to it. Right. By the time I'm done, I have a massive plate of food. And that's the other part of it is culturally, I was raised to eat what's on my plate. Mm-hmm. How many times in reality, in 10 years together almost, bless you, in 10 years together almost, how many times have you seen me not finish a plate of food?
Like you finished your plate and my plate.
Like it is very rare. Mm-hmm. Unless I make a conscious decision. There's been a couple times when we've been out and I would get a burger, I'd cut it and say, can I get a box? And you notice because I don't do that. Right. It's not a thing I do. So like, unless I make a conscious decision, that's just, I eat the whole plate. So now when I make a delicious smaller plate, it still feels like I ate something considerable.
Right.
Like even if it's like, all right, I feel like eating like a big meal, I just double up on vegetables.
Right.
Throw some extra onions, some fucking mushrooms, whatever. Like, because vegetables are free within the program, like it's very much, it like backs up the theory I said of how I was going to do it. Like I've been saying it for a fucking year at this point. I'm just going to turn everything into a salad. It's basically what you got to do.
Right.
Because you're adding volume without drastically increasing calorie count. You're increasing carbs a little bit because vegetables have carbs, but like not in like you're having 4 extra pieces of toast. So like it's just become like, a simpler
more of the
thing.
Whole foods approaches instead of processed. Like we're still able to have processed stuff in what we're eating, but it kind of has more of a focus. Like when you're limited to the calories and it tells you the like
go upstairs.
What you have to meet for it, you're kind of stuck with more of like a whole foods approach.
Yeah, because you have to eat. You have to eat, and what's cheap calorically is vegetables. Like you don't have the you don't have the excess carbs of a fruit. Like there's just a lot of sugar in fruit.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. Like apples are delicious. I love fucking apples, but apples are full of sugar.
But I mean, it's a good sugar. And
it's a good sugar, but you also can
like
overdo that.
Juice, because then that's when you get into it as it being more of a straight sugar and none of the fiber.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And it's become easier. It has gotten to an easier place. So like, once I was mentally there, once I'm now, all right, I could have like legitimately, the serving size of cheese. So like one slice of cheese and one egg
Right.
on 2 toasts, and like I can load it up with spinach, and that's my sandwich.
Yeah.
And I don't need 30 pieces of fucking meat and and an egg and a burger and like I don't have
And
to
then
do
the
all this.
sauces.
Yeah,
And
I don't have to do all that.
bacon.
It's very much become everything that I add just adds to the flavor, but it also muddies the flavor at some point. Like at
Yeah.
some point, you don't taste the garlic.
Mm-hmm.
If I put enough of that Baharat salt, like
Mm-hmm.
garlic disappears.
Right.
So like it's a balancing act. So like if I want to taste the garlic. I love garlic. I found that I really love fucking garlic.
I love garlic.
Like on top of what I used to love garlic, but like it just adds flavor
And
to
it's
shit.
good for you too. Is it supposed to be like heart healthy?
Yeah, I
Or
think so.
cholesterol
I
or
think so.
something? Yeah.
So like it's very much now that like my headspace is there, and like I would say even my taste buds have changed. I'm definitely a way bigger lightweight because I was
Yeah.
drinking way more often. Like I still wasn't drinking very often, but like I felt like I had a stronger tolerance. But like I had one beer the other day and I was ready to fucking go. Like I was real party.
Well, I mean, I wasn't able to have alcohol for that month that I just did the program recently, and so then when I had beer again, it felt a lot stronger.
Yeah, I mean, this is that Conjure Cognac. I still shout out Ludacris on social media when I buy this because I really hope he's still making money off of it.
Hell yeah.
Wikipedia says he's still part owner, so like,
Good.
but I fucking love this shit. But it's like this is my second glass that I've had in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like I don't drink very often. I'll have a sip of your beer. Occasionally I'll have a full beer. Like I still don't feel like I'm drinking very often.
Mm-hmm.
And like sweets are way easier. Like I can have one of something and move on with my life.
Right.
To be fair, I've never had like a really, really strong sweet tooth, but just once in a while I would just be like, I want a tub of ice cream.
Yeah. Same.
Like I've never just been like, I want an ice cream. Like I want like a scoop.
Yeah.
I've never been that guy. But like when I'm like ice cream,
Yeah.
I just want a mountain of it.
I'm just trying to have an overall better relationship with food because it's been very
I
strange.
said that to my doctor, and I was
Yeah.
right before I said it, I was like, I feel like such a fucking hippie asshole saying
Well, 'cause
this,
here's
but
the
like I
thing,
want a better
is
relationship
that-
with food.
I mean, you can definitely argue that certain things are healthier than others. But again, like I said to you before, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, what is attainable based on, like, your socioeconomic status and any number of factors.
Yeah,
And there is something to be said for how the way food makes you feel. The types of food that you can have can be limited based on any number of factors. And
Of course.
so I personally, I've been trying to steer away from terms like healthy or whatever, just because not because I don't think that like eating an apple tends to be better for you than eating a double cheeseburger. I won't argue that. But then again, if
that's good.
if that's the only food that you're getting, that's better than nothing. If I don't know, there might be some other reasons that having that would be better for you than an apple. I can't think of them off the top of my head.
There are people who are fructose intolerant, so who would literally fucking could die off of an apple. So like,
or let's say you have like an iron deficiency and you should probably eat a burger or something. But
right.
there's reasons.
Look, again,
but I don't like it when people
to me-
talk about when they start talking about what is or isn't healthy, because then you get these people that are like, I think that everybody's body is different and everybody's bodies
Yes.
work on different diets, because diets are the problem is that a lot of people tend to just refer to diet as when you are purposefully restricting calories or following a program.
Right.
But a diet's just what you eat.
Okay.
Like if
right.
I wanted to eat cotton candy all fucking day, that would
Right.
be my diet.
Right.
It's not a good one, I would argue, but
Yes.
it's a diet.
I'm pretty sure everyone would argue that cotton candy all day would be a bad diet.
But when you get into this where you have like Atkins or keto or Weight Watchers or
I think Weight Watchers and I think Nutrisystem, from what I've seen so
Nutrisystem.
far, are Weight Watchers and Nutrisystem are probably the two that are the most practical on a
Right.
daily basis.
I would probably
Weight Watchers also has 0 points to vegetables.
Yeah.
I
think fruits and vegetables.
I think fruits and vegetables. Yeah. So like it very much. I think the whole purpose of both of those programs is to simplify the process, to simplify, because there is such a thing, and people have done whole dissertations on this subject, but there is such a thing as decision fatigue, especially in a, busy world. I mean, like, you do so many fucking things that, like, I do not have to make that many decisions at work. I essentially work off a script. Right. I just say it my way. Yes, you can have this replacement. No, you can't. Try this, try that. Not working. Let's get service set up. Very, very simple process. I don't have any decisions to make very often. Once in a while, someone will be like, can I get it for free? I'll take a look. If they weren't an asshole to me, it's only been an extra few days since the warranty. Yeah, I'll replace it for free. That's the extent of my decision making. Once in a while, if they piss me off, I have to make the decision not to be an asshole. That's hard. But like, as far as decision making, very low, very limited. But you have to process data. Yeah. You're doing a lot. Like, you personally make a lot of decisions throughout the day. So if I was to like fill the fridge and just say, go eat something,
right,
it's more than likely you would just be like, what is the easiest and fastest thing so I don't have to think about this any longer?
Yes.
Because it would just be like, I don't want to fucking try to figure this out.
Well, that happens with me, not even just with food, like anything. Like, sometimes I just get to a point where somebody will be like, what do you want for dinner? I mean, I guess that is food again. Or it would even just be like, what movie do you want to see?
Yeah.
And sometimes I just get to a point where I'm like, I don't know. I don't fucking care. This is too hard. Pick it for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I literally don't care. Like, if there was something that I cared about, I would probably be like, ooh, I really wanted to see this movie. But if it's kind of like, I just want to go to a movie, I'd be like, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Do it. Do it for me. I just had to decide, I just had to deal with like 5 people about 5 different things. And I learned that I did something wrong and I have to figure out how to fix it. I don't want to think anymore.
And exactly. And that's why I think that Weight Watchers, and now I don't know a lot about Jenny Craig, but I feel like based on the results and the people that talk about it, I don't have direct interaction with Weight Watchers, but a friend of mine who I used to hang out with, one of my exes, Raylene, I used to hang out at her house all the time. I saw what the shit she was buying, and I saw how she was eating. Yeah. And that shit worked for her. Right. Like that and jazzercise. That's all she did. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, jazzercise.
I went to a jazzercise class once. Fucking hated it. I did not like any of that. Was it jazzercise or Pilates? One or the other. Okay. Does jazzercise have the steps?
Jazzercise is more dancing. Pilates is more...
but they have the steps. Was the steps in jazzercise or no?
Yeah, like they have risers, I think.
Yeah. So maybe it was jazz. Whatever. I went to one of those things. I didn't like it. They were all proud of me for showing up, and I was like, "Don't be proud. This is not going to look good."
But so, I mean,
but like, what I think those programs do is they make things simple.
True.
They simplify things because, like, if you say, "All right, I get this many points a day, this many whatever," so like the same thing we're doing. If I go to the fridge and it is lunchtime,
right?
We did eat lunch. I legit forgot. But like, when I go after this, when I go for my snack, I know that I need a protein and a carb. Mm-hmm. We have filled our fridge and our pantry with stuff that fits the requirements within an acceptable margin that we've accepted.
Yeah.
So it's very much like I can grab a boiled egg, or I can grab I think it's 6 slices of the lunch meats. Yeah. Because that's the serving size and that's my protein. And it's very much like easy transaction stuff. I can grab a piece of bread, the 6 slices of the chicken, throw some spinach in that bitch, fold it over, mini sandwich. Move on with my life. I don't have to think about it. There's not a lot of prep work. I don't have to try to figure something out. It's just, it simplifies the process. And I think it's the same thing with the points for Weight Watchers. It's like, all right, this is 5, this is 10, this is, I get 14 for the day, end of the week, I've got 40 extra, I'm going to have ice cream, and that's it. You move on with your life.
My understanding from speaking with someone that was on Weight Watchers recently is that it seems like Weight Watchers and Nutrisystem are almost working within the same realm.
Yeah.
It's just a little different.
Just a different approach.
Yeah.
It's like
but
this.
They reworked Weight Watchers, and so the way in which they have reworked it seems to be almost parallel in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
to
Nutrisystem. And it makes sense. It's to me, it makes sense as an approach.
Yeah.
There are people who are like, I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna go Atkins, and they can outright give up breads and carbs and. Well, I guess that's just bread, right? Atkins is just bread.
No, Atkins I think is low carb, so it's little
low
to
carb.
no bread.
Right, it's low carb.
It was like
keto. Keto is
like
super restrictive. Jason was on keto.
Yeah,
and he was like, we had a Quest cookie.
Yeah.
So like a protein laden, low carb. And he was like, yeah, I can only have like 1/16 of that. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, no, I can't. That's too much thinking.
Yeah.
To me, that's too, like, then I have to figure, because I think they get like 7 grams of carbs a day.
Okay. Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can fucking sneeze hard and get more than 7 carbs. Like, it's so super restrictive. And I get it. For him, it worked. For him and his wife, it worked. But like, I don't.
Well, if you were to do, well, no, but he's probably taking everything into account, right?
Yeah, vegetables.
Because I was about to say, like,
carb.
oh yeah, with us, we probably only are getting about 7, but we're
getting 7 breads.
We're getting seven carbs.
Yeah, 7.
That's not including like the vegetables.
Yeah, because vegetables for him count. Like,
yeah,
a pepper has like 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can't have, because I was like, oh, so you can just eat salads with meat. I'm like, that sounds delicious. He's like, I can't eat salads.
I do not know.
And I was like, how?
I do not know a lot of people that have successfully stayed on keto.
No one does. It's not a permanent solution. I know you don't like him, but Joe Rogan did it. He like went super hard, super like to the lines of it.
Yeah.
And it helped, and it helped him. He had I forget, he said he had some sort of medical situation, nothing serious, but it like helped that. I don't know if it was like a sciatica or something. I don't want to call it mundane, but it was something that was bothersome.
Yeah.
And it stopped.
Okay.
Like he was sleeping better or something that was preventing him from like fully getting full enjoyment out of life. It's resolved it. No. Stomach. He had a stomach situation. I don't know if it was IBS or something, but like it like balanced itself out. And he's like, didn't have problems anymore. My stomach wasn't having problems. So I was like, that's really interesting. But even he said, he's like, this is not sustainable.
No.
He's like, unless you go ridiculously super hard on it, it doesn't work. Because you have to reach that state of ketosis. And anything wavering outside of those boundaries, you fuck it up. You bounce out of that. Because the whole point is that you reach your body, you're forcing your body into a state that is not natural for it to be in.
Well, my understanding is that keto diet was originally, I don't know if it was necessarily invented, but it's a first like practical use was for children that had epilepsy. It was supposed to help control seizures.
Yeah.
So like if you don't have seizures, you don't really need to be on a diet like that.
Right. No, it's ridiculously restrictive and for a reason.
Well, and the problem too is
most people like can't do it, let alone
if you believe in that or if the results show it, like you've reached ketosis, like if you go out of it and it messes it up, that's not sustainable. And if you but I think even with stuff like Weight Watchers and Nutrisystem and Jenny Craig, that there is not a lot of room for error, because at the end of the day, it's a calorie restrictive diet. Should it meet your basic needs? Yes. A lot of people say, I hate calorie counting, and they try to put it as like, it's not calorie counting, but like, yes, it is. Because,
it really is.
Because you're limiting your calories, and you also have to have things within certain calorie ranges. So no, are you sitting there and like counting every single calorie?
And I think that's why it's working for me.
Probably.
I think it's because when we first met and you were like really big into MyFitnessPal, I tried that shit. I went for like 2 weeks, and it just got fucking mind-numbing having to put it all in and consider the decisions I made. And just like the whole process was so fucking draining. And now it's like very much, like I said, you were like, we can have this kind of bread. And to me, that makes the shopping trip easier.
Yeah.
Because then I'm not staring at the fucking bread section being like, oh, what do I like? What looks interesting? It's like I can have this 12 grain or this multi-grain bread,
right,
or barring that, this whole wheat.
Yeah.
Those are my 3 options in that order.
Yep.
Like, boom. That to me is, 12 grain, boom.
Yeah.
And I just go to the next section. I don't have to think about it. You know, when I sit down and I'm in the vegetable section, I'm not like, what could I do with vegetables? Could I add it to my... No, it's like, we make the salad. I need this, this, and this. You know, I throw fucking cilantro on everything now. I throw fucking, spinach on everything. Like, boom, boom, boom. 3 bags of spinach, 2 bags. Like, it just, once you have a structure, you just are eliminating those excess fucking bullshit decisions and yeah, it's just fucking easier. Like it's just, honestly, it's become easier. Cause even going to McDonald's, when I'm like, all right, we're out of the house. We're not gonna be back to the house anytime soon. We're going to just get McDonald's for lunch. We know that we can just get a double cheeseburger and that's lunch.
Right.
Double cheeseburger and a large iced tea, move on with my life.
Right.
And if I'm like, all right, I'm going to like throw caution to the wind and have like a full meal, even the other day when you weren't with me and I could have gotten away with fucking anything, I was like this, and it wasn't even a moment of, I shouldn't. I was just like, I'm going to have number 4. I said large, they gave me a medium. It balanced out because last time I had ordered small and they gave me a medium. So it balanced. He went to the couch.
Did he though?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him. He didn't come down. So like I could, like I said, I could have gotten away with anything, but I was just like, large iced tea, cool.
Yeah.
And then pulled through. And I was like, I could have ordered, I had in the moment, I was like, I could have ordered more, but I was like, no, I'm good though. Like I don't need more. Like I'm real good.
I'm kind of at this balance of, well, through my work we do some health exercises and we get points for them, and it counts towards, you can win prizes or you can get money off your insurance or get a incentive payment.
Right.
So, but I'm interested in it anyway, even if I wasn't getting paid for it. And we met with this person who I think was an actual dietitian, I want to say. Or what's the other one? Yeah. Nutritionist. That's it. We met with a nutritionist, and she was talking about instead of saying like healthy eating,
right?
It was more about mindful eating. And so I kind of like to approach it more from that aspect. And I like to and I think even that can fit within the body positivity and like, I guess, fat acceptance or whatever each person wants to call it or is striving for. Because I think that, like I said, if you want to eat whatever you want, if you are willing to accept, I guess, the consequences of that, or even just maybe think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, I think that's a good thing. So I'd like to see, like, I think that if a person wants to sit down, I don't think a person should be made to feel bad if they eat a slice of cake or 2 slices of cake, or if they decide that they want to sit down and have like a bucket of popcorn or a tub of ice cream. Yeah, I personally, like, I don't see anything wrong with that. I do agree to a degree that if you're saying like, well, I don't like the way I am and I want to work on it, I guess. I don't like saying work on it or improve. I don't know. It's hard to find the right words for these things without making it sound like you are fat shaming. But I think that if more people were mindful, I think that you might consider maybe why you eat the way you do. And that can help.
Yeah, very, very often.
Because a lot of it can be feelings. And I think that our culture, like especially American culture, and I think it's kind of going worldwide to a degree, like we're very food focused.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you're depressed, you eat. If you're happy, you eat. If you're celebrating something, you eat. If you're bored, if you're rewarding yourself for something, you eat. Yeah, or bored. And so I don't...
Legit. When I left the doctor, I like had the thought, like almost joking with myself, but at the same time not. of being like, all right, I lost 30 plus pounds. Time for a celebratory McDonald's visit.
No.
Right? I had that thought, and I was like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, that's the legit problem. Because I remember when I was working out with Alex, when I was doing that like month whatever with him, like the group classes, and like I started lifting more, and I lost weight and everything, and like my numbers went down, the actual body measurement numbers, like my what was it? My like what's it called? The visceral fat levels, the stuff that's like around your organs, the shit that causes heart attacks and shit. Like it went down, and like I had a fucking breakdown in the office when he read that to me. Oh yeah,
you told me.
I had a breakdown because I legit, seeing those numbers and knowing what they mean, I legit had like an understanding. Like I know I'm fat. I know, like I'm conscious that I'm fat, and like the idea of what that might mean to me. But being like, hey, you have this much physical weight of fat on your heart and lungs and organs, which will cause a heart attack, will cause damage, will clog up your arteries. Like I know that the possibility of clogged arteries was there. Right. But then when I see that number, it was like, it gave me like a dance with like mortality. And so when I saw that number drop, like my weight had gone up. My weight went up. But I looked at it and I was like, but my fucking visceral fat went down. And I was so happy about that. Yeah. Because I had that genuine, like, it's like once you realize what is happening and what it can mean, it is like your priorities change. Right. Like your priorities get real. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with saying healthy eating. Mindful makes more sense. Right. Healthy is a little too generic. And, you know, as I said earlier in the podcast, that means
so many things to so many people.
Exactly. As I said earlier in the podcast, generic shit just leads to more problems. If you generalize statements, and that's true with every conversation, debate, or discussion. If you generalize something, you are automatically reducing your argument to its like weakest form. Or if you say people should eat healthier, what the fuck does that mean?
I think that,
because somebody who is iron deficient, like you said, is going to have a completely different diet than someone who is, let's say, insulin deficient. Right. Those are two different bodies that are going to react very differently to healthy, whatever the fuck that you think that means.
Well, and you also have to understand that a lot of people don't necessarily have a concept even of like what goes into the food they have. A lot of people would assume that a salad, you'll see a lot of people that would be like, this salad is healthier than a sandwich. And
Depends
it's kind of like, well, is it? What's in your salad?
If you drown it in ranch, no, it's not.
What's in your sandwich?
Exactly.
I don't like.
I bet you my sandwiches now are way healthier than a lot of people's salads.
Is a salad healthier than a sandwich? Possibly. But is a sandwich that like you made at home with whole grain?
Shush.
But is a sandwich that you made at home with like whole grain bread and like not as much processed cheese and let's say just like a smear of a sauce and tomatoes and some like, you know, lunch meats that you picked out that actually don't have
because even at a Subway, if you say, all right, give me like a little bit of mustard, it's
like, is that going to be healthier than going to Subway? No. So, and you could say that too. Like if people were like, sandwiches are healthier than burgers. Okay, what sandwich? Where are you getting it? What's in it?
I've seen some like again, it depends on what you put on it. Like it all very like a salad with croutons is not going to be as strong, like as far as composition, you know, value, let's say health value, to me grabbing for a snack some lunch meat and eating that lunch meat by itself and then having a banana.
Yeah. It's complicated.
No way anyone can calculate out that a salad with dressing and croutons is better than me grabbing that. Like it's just there's just no way around that.
And the fact of the matter is that I know people who genuinely I guess enjoy or love being fat. Like they don't have a problem with it. They love their bodies. They like to eat food. They don't like people telling them what to do or not to do. And again, I think that if you don't have any immediate,
if
you don't have any other health concerns besides the fact that you're overweight.
He like looked upstairs like, are we going or what's going on? Like,
I was gonna say,
I don't.
wasn't done.
I know, but you were talking about body acceptance, and I really must touch on this. Accepting yourself in your own body is paramount to all other things. I think that is going to be the first step to getting over anything. Whether you have purely mental issues, whether you have PTSD, accepting yourself within your own body. There's just no first step beyond that. You have to be like, this is me. This is who I am. I am okay with me. Until you're okay with you, you don't even have the capacity at that point to get to, maybe you do actually really want to lose weight. Maybe you do actually really want to eat better or eat different or eat more mindfully.
Right.
But if you're not at, I love me,
right,
none of that shit's going to happen.
But then
regardless. So you might cover that up with, I'm happy being fat. No one's happy being fat.
There are people that are happy being fat.
They're not.
They are. The only thing that a lot of people that are fat don't love is that people tell them you're wrong or you don't know better or how could you?
If they are happy being fat,
yeah,
they are not being mindful of their situation because they are ignoring the inherent health risks.
Some people don't give a fuck about living to be 80. Some people want to have fun now. Some people like the way they look as a fat person. Some people like what they eat. Some people don't want to touch a fucking salad. Some people, any number of things. Like, if you know that there are people who love to be fit, it should not be a surprise that there are people who genuinely love to be fat. And if it's not posing a problem for them beyond people being shitty to them for being fat, then I don't. And
that's not on them. That's never on them. Like, anybody being shitty to you for any fucking reason is not on you. That's a person being shitty problem. That's not a you problem.
But
like regardless of if it's weight, if you're because you're a woman, because you're black, because whatever, anybody being shitty to you for any fucking reason, unless you were an asshole first.
Right.
If somebody's just picking on you, being a bully for no fucking reason, that's a them problem. You're fine.
Right.
So like but I as a fat person, as a what do they call it? Morbidly obese person. I was about to say morbidly.
Morbidly?
Morbidly. As a morbidly obese person, clinically speaking, I cannot fathom a person who is happy being fat.
But that's you.
I'm okay with, I can completely understand people being happy and who happen to be fat. I am that person.
Okay.
I would say, very happy. I have a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful life. I'm very privileged in many ways. Like I have a lot of shit. like I have stuff. I have people. Like, for all intents and purposes, I am in need of nothing.
Right.
Like, so I'm doing the shit that I love. Like, I hate my job, but like, that's about it.
Yeah.
But like, most people don't like their job, like, for the most part. And on top of that, I have also found ways to express the thing that I do want to do, like the telling of stories, through other avenues that don't have to be my primary source of income, which satisfies that need for me. And I'm still doing the things that I love. So to me, I'm a happy person. I am also fat, and I've told you this very much. Like, in my peripheral vision, I see what I look like. Up here, I do not look like that.
Oh,
I feel like a different bodied person. Like, I feel like a slimmer, like, still bigger, but not like
lumberjacky.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I feel like I look like.
Okay.
But I know physically, like, when I see myself in a mirror sometimes, like when I'm done with a shower, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that. Like, because like unless I'm
because
in
we
the
got that mirror like right there when you get out of the shower, and it's like,
But,
oh boy.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, you're that guy. I see. But it's like I personally am a happy person who is fat, and I just cannot fathom someone who is happy to be fat. Because it's just like the day.
But like, I cannot fathom being fisted, and there are people who love to be fisted. Like, there's...
What the fuck is that example? Where the fuck did that come from?
Like, just because you don't
Fisted. What the fuck
feel
is wrong
it
with you? Oh my god.
doesn't mean it's not a thing.
Oh my god. Fisted?
Like, there are people who dress in furry costumes, and that's what they like. It's not my kink, but I know it exists, and there's people who like it, and I'm not here to tell them they're wrong.
If it's a kink situation, I get that. I for me, like, just conceptualizing the way people's sexuality expresses itself, I don't even know, like I can't verbalize some of the shit that people do and are into. I don't get a lot of it. My sexuality is a certain way.
Yeah.
Other people's is a different way. I don't get most of it. Quite honestly, I don't get most of it. But it is what it is, and that's what they're into. But like, this is I can't imagine someone being happy that they have to like sideways bend over and move their leg out of their way so that they can just tie their fucking shoes. I think, from my opinion, that seems like someone who is overcompensating.
I don't want to minimize people that are proud of being fat or love being fat. I do wonder to a degree, like, I think that sometimes maybe some people do want to try to lose some weight, or I wonder sometimes, and I don't want to make it about minimizing people saying that they like being fat or love being fat. I think there are people who genuinely do, but I also think that maybe there are some people who it could be a defiance to a degree, where if people are like, well, I'll show you. I think that can be a case in some cases, but it's hard to say because we haven't allowed fat people like the luxury. It shouldn't even be a luxury. We haven't allowed fat people the chance to just exist as not being looked as a burden or not in touch with reality or any number of derogatory things that we do towards fat people. And you find it is, and again, I think it's hard. I also don't like when people get so extreme on the other side, where you have people that are, I suppose you could say, it's almost like pro-fat, because it seems like they're encouraging people, like, don't ever do a diet, don't ever do anything.
Yeah, I don't like that shit.
I don't like that, because I think that's just as dangerous as the, like, you have to work out all the time and do the box jumps and
100%.
do keto, and, if you can't...
Because you dealt with that.
I've dealt with that.
Because that one shop in Minneapolis, you had said something about how you because I think that was the first time you did Nutrisystem.
Yeah.
You posted something about it, and they like unfollowed you.
Yeah, which I understand to a degree, because there are people that have serious issues with food, and it can bring up problems, which is why I don't have problems with content warnings and trigger warnings and anything like that. I guess if you put that kind of stuff out front, it lets people know what to expect. And so there are people that have there are people who have now accepted themselves at the weight that they are, and that's plus size, and they're fine with it. And but other people aren't fine with it. But those people will have previously dealt with eating disorders. I do understand why some people that are, I guess, pro-fat or like on the extreme end of body acceptance don't want to see anything about diets or like programs, because they have mixed feelings about it, and they could have eating disorders, or they just feel that it's more like feeding into the cycle of like most programs like that, most like diets don't work, and most people end up either like losing a bunch of weight and gaining it back and then some, or like yo-yoing and beating themselves up. And so there's a lot of like emotional stuff that goes into it that you have to consider. So I can understand why somebody would personally say, this is not for me. I can't follow this because it brings up memories or is hard for me. But I don't like when they kind of label it as like, this is completely wrong and nobody should follow it and we should get rid of it altogether.
Yeah, I think it's excessive. I think that's, and we've talked about this before. I think the problem in our society is that people just jump into extremism for every subject. You're either all the way one way or all the way the other way. Like if like I like I said, the concept of body positivity makes sense to me. I think you should be getting to a point where you are comfortable with yourself inside of your body. I don't think that requires you to like ignore health risks.
Right.
I think it's fine if you say, all right, I'm, whatever, 300 pounds and, you have your clothing and, your doctor says like you should lose weight, but otherwise like you don't have high risk factors for anything. Like if you are practically just overweight and your doctor's like, you should lose weight, and then you ask why when, I don't have high blood pressure, I don't have, heart attack, whatever, I don't have high cholesterol, like, because it's not a good enough reason. Right. And if you were comfortable, like, I don't expect, like, I was talking to Andrew, and I told him that I lost weight, and he's like, what are you at? I was like, why don't you guess? And he's like, 350, and I was like, that's a goal, bro.
But that's the thing, like, is that a lot of people don't realize, like, even with me, people think that I weigh a lot less than I do. And that's just because of the way I carry it. Like, I do have a lot of muscle. It's covered in fat, but I got a lot of muscle.
I legitimately have big bones.
Yeah, so that's hard. I think general practitioners need to work more hand in hand with nutritionists.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff you can't figure out, like really how healthy people are until you start doing more blood work. So I think that should be offered more like readily and affordable, if not covered.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, like, yeah, is being overweight, can it be detrimental? Yes, but not necessarily. And
well, so, I mean, like physiologically, it will.
I think it's more stressful to be told constantly that you're 20 pounds overweight and to have somebody go, you're overweight, you have this issue, because you're overweight. Like, there are things that can be solved by losing weight.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of stuff that can't. And so it's like,
absolutely. But there's also a lot
what's
of
the point of hearing every year that like you're overweight if it doesn't affect necessarily much?
Yeah. And I think that's something that like that also comes into play as far as like the approach, right? Like my doctor asked, what's your goal weight? I said, I'm just trying to be able to bend over and tie my shoes without having my stomach in the way. And she said, okay, that's a good goal. She didn't fight me on it. She didn't say like, you need to be at this weight. Cause she even said, she's like, there's probably a number that you're quote unquote, and she even did like air quotes, like supposed to weigh. She's like, but it's different for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you actually know what you're talking about. Like, I don't feel like you're just trying to be like, trying to hit a goal for me. Yeah. Like her concern this whole time has been my blood pressure.
Yeah.
And like, I think if I recall this was a while back, but she said, I think like 3 visits of like normal readings. And once I lose more weight, like then I won't have to take my blood pressure meds anymore. And like that, her goal is to not have to deal with this. She doesn't want to have to send me off to a fucking knee surgeon in a few years because my body's just destroyed my joints.
Right.
Like thankfully, like I said, I have very strong bones, very, very dense bones. So I don't think that's going to be happening. I'm probably not at high risk for osteoporosis down the line. But like Some people are. People are, and like, and I'm also not discounting that. Like, I'm saying that I'm not a high risk for osteoporosis.
Right.
How the fuck do I know? I might have genetic fucking predisposition for it. You know, I'm not trying to fuck with that. So like, me personally, I might get to let's say at 400, I just feel like top of the world. I feel like I still am gonna be conscious of, hey, like my back, my knees, like joints, my ankles, which I've already had issues with, like those things are all going to be dependent on my weight,
right,
and how they function long term. And until somebody says, hey, we can download a human brain into a computer, you know, robot body is going to be a long way away. So like,
I have a question. The first time I did Nutrisystem, when I lost like all that weight,
you did lose a lot of weight.
And I'm like a size 14 right now. I was almost like just shy of a size 8. Do you like, are you able to like think back and remember what I looked like? Or like have a general idea of
Yeah, I would say
how
so.
I was? Do you think, do you, in your professional opinion, think that I should have lost any more weight?
More?
Yeah.
No, probably not.
Like, if I were going to lose weight, how much weight from that do you think I would have needed to lose for
it to me, honestly, it's not a it's not a number. Again, it's very much like quality of life and aesthetics to a point.
Did you think that I was overweight when I looked like that?
Sorry. What are you eating? Go. Couch. Couch. What a jerk. I'll be very honest with you. I don't like, unless you bring it up, I don't think about the term overweight when I talk to you or
but
about
when
you.
I looked like that,
I understand.
Do you think I was? I'm asking you.
Now, I mean, probably like overweight to what?
Okay.
I guess that's the question. Like overweight, like biblically, like by numbers, sure, probably. Like, but I don't think that there's.
So, like, how overweight do you think I was when I looked like that?
Because this was what, 2 years ago?
Like, yeah, like 3 years ago.
I'm a terrible judge of this, but probably 20, maybe 30 pounds. But again, like, I'm a bad judge of this.
So
I can tell you from my perspective, and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
When I saw, so like when we first met, and I started creeping on your Facebook, and I found your like progress photo that you had taken. Like, this was like when we first met.
Okay.
And I found that progress photo that you taken in the mirror. I saved that for my spank bank because you had that ab like line forming, and you just like you were, you know, in a bra, and I was like, this is fucking sexy. So like that was a hot shot, but to me, like, that is kind of what I'm like when I see you make real progress. I see like definition, and I see I don't care or particularly think about the numbers.
Let me potentially blow your mind. When I was that size, I think I was just over 160 pounds.
Okay.
Doctors for pretty much my whole adult life have been telling me they want me to be around 115 pounds.
You're going to chop your titties off for that?
Yeah, right?
What the fuck are they talking?
But so that's the BMI
115?
thing. They said for your height and your age.
I'm because I'll be very honest with you. I have that image burned into my skull.
I have never had a doctor tell me that they wanted me to be more than 125 pounds. And when I was that, and when I lost all that weight, when you saw me eating, I mean, I wasn't not eating.
Right.
I don't feel that I was in starvation mode.
No.
I was definitely watching what I was eating.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, restrictive, but it wasn't crazy. I was eating.
Yeah.
And I was and I wasn't like working out all day, every day. I was doing, you know, like a workout, varied workouts once a day.
Right.
With some rest days here and there. Like, that to me was so exhaustive and it wasn't maintainable. And I only got down to 160. And
I'm just really...
and so doctors have been telling me that they want me to be like 115 to 125 pounds. And I think the last time...
Dude, you're talking... Like, okay, so I could see it as feasible, but we're talking like cut.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking 3 to 5% body fat.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking cut, like Olympic level, bodybuilder level cut. And that's not human. To me, like, that's not an example of where to go. That's an example of what one could achieve should they want to go down that career path. Not, you should do this as a fucking 30-year-old woman. You should look like this bodybuilder.
Which is why it was more mind-opening for me when I did the Nutrisystem plan.
Dude, that's 40 pounds.
Yeah, from where?
I'm trying to think like you'd have to. I'm thinking like if you were a sculptor, you'd have to shave off a fucking lot of layers.
And here's the thing. I mean, I put like if I decide.
I'm gonna share that photo. Can I share that photo on the
That
podcast?
wasn't even the smallest I was.
Oh, I'm sure, but like I'm just saying that photo that I was thinking of.
Yeah, sure. I don't care.
Like I'm just.
You could even find a photo of when I was like at my smallest when I did Nutrisystem, and like
because you hit 135, I think at one point. What was that when you? And I'm talking like when you had like dysentery in Croatia.
Oh.
when you were like having visions and going on spiritual fucking trips because you ate something and it cleared your whole shit out.
I don't know what that was.
Because I remember seeing that photo and I was like, you look like a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look like you had regressed in age.
I lost 20 pounds in a week.
Oh my God, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
20 pounds in 1 week.
20 pounds in a week.
Yeah, no.
Because Adriana was in the same...
If you were in America, they would have sent you to the hospital.
You're interrupting me.
I'm sorry.
Adriana was in the same town as me, but we were like on opposite ends. And so I had been telling her I wasn't feeling well. And then it got to the point where it was just... This is gross, but it was like constant diarrhea. I couldn't hold anything down. And then I started hallucinating. I still don't know what that was. I may never know what happened. It could have been something in the water. It could have been something I ate. Somebody could have drugged me. I don't know.
Dude, that's crazy.
And, this was back then when not as many people spoke English and I didn't know how the healthcare system worked. So, like, I wouldn't even have understood how to begin to, like, describe any of that. But it got to one point where I was telling Adriana, like, I'm sick. Like, I'm really sick. And, like, people get sick. Like when you're eating different food and drinking different stuff. And she was kind of like, oh, well, if you start like bleeding, then you should start worrying. And it was like, yeah, I'm bleeding. Like there's blood in my poops.
Dude, that's so crazy.
So I lost 20 pounds in a week. And people still called me fat.
Jesus fucking Christ. Fucking Balkans. Dude, because that photo... The one photo that I remember from you from right after that trip was at the airport. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was like, was this from high school? And you were like, that's when I was coming back from Bosnia. I was like, that was 3 years ago. Like, I was like, that's insane.
That also, though, by that point, I had recovered a lot. I still had kept some of the weight off, but I recovered. But the thing, too, that you have to understand is that in general, even if I hadn't had dysentery or whatever the fuck it was, there were a couple of things working. Well, a few things. You're eating food that's less processed.
Right.
You're
walking
are
those
eating
places.
like meals and not snacking and stuff. And I wasn't eating a lot to begin with anyway, because it gets really hot there in the summer. And when I'm hot, like, I'm just not hungry. Like, I just want to lay in a pool of sweat and not move. And you walk everywhere. So, like, I would have lost weight anyway.
I lost 50 pounds when I went to Bosnia.
Yeah.
When I came back, because that was the summer. And I maintained that. And I thought it was interesting because it was funny because So I came back from Bosnia that year, and I lost 50 pounds because I was walking everywhere, like you said. And then I, for whatever reason, maintained it and lost a little more during the holidays.
Right.
So when we came back, this was senior year. When we came back from the holidays, everyone's like, "Dude, everyone gained weight. You lost weight." I was like, "I don't know what to tell you." Then then I fell off the wagon as I do.
Well, and I think that's why it was so important, and it was really eye-opening when I did the Nutrisystem the first time, and even the second time, was that because it was for a clinical trial, a weight loss study, they had me use their DEXA scan or whatever it's called, and so they're using a machine that basically like separates the tissue from like the regular tissue from the fat and the muscle and the bone.
Yeah, that's the scan that I was getting at the gym.
Yeah, and so it was telling me like this much weight of you is bone, this much weight is muscle. And so when we were doing when I did it at the end of my last trial, I think even at 160 pounds, I might have been under 15% body fat by that point.
Yeah.
But like again, that wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot left to lose.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think you're supposed to total. I think you're supposed to end up with about 5, and that's like the fat that you need around your organs and shit like that. That's the fact that's supposed to be there. But other than that,
but like I knew a guy in high school who had 4% body fat, and he was like the trimmest, leanest person.
Yeah. Was he a runner?
Yeah.
He was like the record holder for the 1 mile.
He wasn't the record holder, but like not to say that all Asians are thin, but he was Asian. And his family a lot of times, but his family just in general were like thinner people, and he was thin and he had some muscle definition, but he was into sports. I don't know if it was necessarily the running.
Well,
but
athletes in general, like if you catch on athleticism early on in life, as I'm friends with a bunch of people from high school that I don't actually like talk with, but I see their progress over the years, and you see people who were like the skinny kid, always a skinny kid, but not active. They were not on teams or anything, and now they're like the chubby dad. They're like definitely like straight dad bod out, but then you see the people who were like athletic then.
Yeah.
More often than not are still athletic, and they're not necessarily like in great perfect shape or whatever, but like they're still doing all right. They're still like maintaining. They still like do like some sort of sport thing or work out a lot. Hades kind of went down that route. Like he got into working out super super early on. He like overcompensated. And I didn't know about this until a few years ago, but when he was 13 and like started working out, he like super overcompensated, so he wasn't eating barely anything, and ended up passing out several times.
Wow.
He was just like working out super hard and like eating very little.
Yeah, so that's a problem.
Yeah, and that's all mental, right? That's all like him trying to deal with the fact that like people were making fun of him, and like I dealt with it in other ways. I just became a shut-in. Like I basically took any bullshit people gave me, and I just I whined about it, but I just like didn't draw too much attention to myself, and I just kind of became the guy. Like I sat in the back of the class whenever I could, because I was like, I don't want anybody staring at me, like because I'm the fat kid. I'm the tall fat kid, so everyone fucking knew me,
right?
Because I was it was like a sea of students. We had 650 people in our class, so like, and the last 2 years, we're in a building that used to be a prison. So they're like narrow hallways, lockers, everyone's there. So it's like sea of people, and like me and the one other tall dude, everyone knew us. And that other tall dude who was skinny is still an asshole to this day. It's kind of funny.
Well, and then you see people, at least I see people from high school too, that had been larger and have lost the weight. And not in like a ridiculous way. They just, I guess, either hadn't been working out and started to work out, or changed the way they ate. And now I don't feel like they're extreme. Like it's definitely a difference. But they're just kind of, I don't know what the best word to use for it is. They lost weight. That's
it's different. Yeah. They look different.
So yeah. So, for some of the, and so I think if you do have issues with food, I think it can be good to like look into those and think about them. Like, why are you eating what you eat? I think it's okay to question that. I don't think you should just blindly like accept it.
For sure.
Necessarily.
I mean, like look at it from where I was coming at. Like now that I think about it, you know, I say I eat when I'm bored, but like a lot of that probably comes from the fact that my mom didn't let me go and go out and have friends and do kid shit, and so I was at home, and the only like emotional response I could get, the only way I could feel good, because we didn't have like a TV at first. I slept on the floor. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the only way I could, like, feel good was by eating shit and getting that dopamine hit. So, like, when I'm bored, I eat, and that makes me feel good.
Well, and for me, it's been issues with food because, on the one hand, you had my dad who, like, kind of bought and ate whatever he wanted and didn't gain weight. Or, like, if he did, it would be like, oh, I guess, I'm getting a little chubby. I guess I'll have 4 scoops of ice cream instead of 5.
Right.
And then, he
should all be
loses
blessed
10
with such
pounds.
genetics.
Like, you had him who then would, take us to the buffets and whatever. And it's like, I'd eat what I wanted to eat, which probably still was too much than what I should have ate. And him being like, you have to eat more. You have to get my money's worth. You can't stop now. But then you had, and so my dad, like, again, he could eat anything and everything he wanted. But then you had my mom who was like the extreme opposite and kind of always talked about like, oh, I only used to eat 800 calories a day and I had a great figure and I worked at the Ford plant and I, lifted truck engines all day, every day. And I looked so great. And, all this stuff is garbage.
You call her on that bullshit next time. Nobody's lifting engines.
She's like, she was. But she, and then, but like she like wouldn't let me have stuff. And so there was no kind of middle ground. It was like,
so he was super permissive and she was super restrictive.
Yeah, so if she was in charge, and I feel like she was kind of in charge more often than not, it was like, we're going to have oatmeal, and we're not putting anything in it, and we're going to have Cheerios, and no flavors, and we're going to have Chex, and no flavors, and no, you can't.
Can I say though?
And it's like, no, you can't have, you can't have Kellogg Red Berries, because that has sugar and fruit in it. You have to have cornflakes. So, like, I'm not saying that I should have been allowed to eat, like, Cocoa Puffs all day, every day. But, maybe once in a while would have been a little bit nicer. And so I became, like, I don't know, food insecure in, like, a really odd way for, like, a middle-class white chick where it's, like, I feel like I want to eat all these things. I've been told by my dad I should, like, eat all these things and enjoy all the things. But then, then he talks about my weight. And then having my mom, who also talks about my weight and says you can have nothing.
Dude, I have to say, and this, and again, I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where your experience, female experience, is way different than male experience. I've been called fat by my mother, but it was like I hadn't seen her in a long time. And I like, let's say like 2-3 years I hadn't seen her. Various reasons we've talked about before, I think, on the podcast. But like, I show up with my then girlfriend. We had both gained weight, and like we both knew it, but like we weren't doing anything about it. And we walk in, first words out her mouth, "You guys gained weight," and that's that Balkan bullshit. Like. That was the first thing, because that was always going to be the first thing she noticed.
But then if you eat 2 eggs, is that going to be enough?
Exactly. It's very much self-destructive mentality of you have to maintain this appearance, and it's all, I mean, everything for Balkans, at least in my experience, is how you look to other people, the shit you buy, where you work, how many jobs you have, because that was a thing as well. Because it was like if she had 3 jobs, she only wanted people to think she had 1. That's how she could afford everything. She has the nice job, not that she's working 3 times as hard as everyone.
Yeah.
And that was the thing is, the difference is that's the one time she made like an offhanded comment about my weight.
Yeah.
You had to grow up with your parents both from different angles entirely talking about your weight. it's a completely different situation. And like I
Yeah.
can't, I can't put myself in those shoes. I will never have that experience. But it's like everyone's having a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, yes, while I say that I don't believe that anyone is happy to be fat, I can understand coming from a situation where maybe for the longest time in your life your parents were super restrictive and you had to be skinny and you couldn't be happy unless you were skinny.
Mm-hmm.
You could find happiness in just like the antithesis of the thing that you were like
Right.
drilled into. I could see that for sure.
Well,
But I think that's another
and
thing to deal
the
with.
hard thing too, though, is that I mean, when I was 8 and under, like I was really small. I was short and I was thin, and I stayed the same. I mean, from the time I was 5 until I was 8, I was like almost the same size.
Jeez.
I didn't grow a lot, and I was thin. And the weird thing is that like people used to make fun of me for being so small and so thin. And
They
then
make fun of me because I was tall.
yeah, and then as soon as I started to like hit puberty, then it's really weird to be able to go from I was active, but I would eat like a whole container of Oreos in like a day. I could do that for funsies, and
It took you a day?
and I could do it. I could do it.
I could do
and
it
nothing
faster.
would happen. And now, now.
Well, when you're a kid, it's different. Everything's different,
Well,
right?
some kids are fat, some kids are thin.
That's true. I don't get that.
Some kids are fat, and then when they hit puberty, like they lose it. It's just everybody's body's different.
That's right. Yeah, man. And that's why that's why when you say like diets don't work,
yeah,
it's because diets are, and again going back to my point, super generalized.
right.
Generalizing shit doesn't help anybody.
And that's why I really don't like the all or nothing mentality, because like as I like a perfect example, I think, or at least one a perfect example would be the artist Lizzo.
Okay.
She is a very large and in charge woman.
Yes.
And she used to be bigger than she is now.
Jesus.
And she, don't be an asshole.
I was 30 to 40 pounds larger than I am now. That's fucking huge.
Okay. Well, then she was fucking huge.
Objectively speaking,
She's still huge. I don't
She's
see
a big
her in
woman.
person,
She's a big woman. I see her I follow her on TikTok.
But anyway, the point
like,
being,
she makes interesting shit.
She initially came out, and when she came out on the scene, my understanding was that she was very unapologetically big, and it was like,
yeah,
I'm here, I'm large, and I'm in charge. If you don't like it, move.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
But she did she's lost weight, but she's still a large woman. And people were coming out of the woodworks. Like on the one side, you had people that say, you have to be fine with yourself and like fully embrace if you're fat. We're saying like she has bought into diet culture. She's betrayed us. How could you do this to us?
That's so
kind
silly.
Of thing.
That's so
and
silly.
It's like, it's not about you. And I do understand the concern when people seem to be about one thing and then pivot. Like, I wouldn't even say it was extreme.
A political spectrum. Like, yeah.
It wasn't even a political spectrum.
No, I don't mean her, but I just mean like I see what you mean. Like as far as concern, if somebody says A and then now they're saying B, and it's a completely different thing.
She lost. I don't know what she weighed initially. I don't know what she weighs now. I know that she was bigger. I know that she's smaller now, but she is still large. And people were like, "Why? How could you do this? I thought you were happy with yourself. I don't understand." And the problem, the biggest problem with that is that my understanding is I think I had read that I think Black women are the most under served and usually have the most health issues, in large part because of socioeconomic status, but also because the medical community tends to they have historically marginalized people, Black people specifically, use them for their own experimentation, and and there's history of doctors knowing that Black people have problems and they haven't told them because they wanted to use them as like natural social experiments, to be like, oh, well, we just won't tell you that you have this thing. We're going to wait and see what it does to you and like take notes.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's documented. It's a historical thing. And so she basically just said, like, I have a lot of health issues. Like, I'm still fine with being a bigger woman. I just want to be a healthier, bigger woman for me. And it was like, you don't need to do it.
And that's 100% what it should be.
I just want to do it.
Yeah.
But then you also have people where, like, she's been documenting workouts that she does. She talks about food that she eats. She recently posted about like a smoothie detox cleanse thing, which I have questions about because I don't really believe in cleanses and detoxing, but if it works for her, it works for her. And I don't think what she was doing was like extreme.
Right.
But you had people that were coming out like you had people also coming out that were basically like, why do you even bother when you're still so fat?
Jesus
It's
Christ.
like an all or nothing. So it's like the people who are happy being fat want you to stay fat. They aren't happy when you're still fat. They're mad that you're not as fat as you were. And then you have people that are like, well, it's all or nothing. Who cares that I would guess she probably lost 30 pounds. That's just a guess. But, they're like, oh, well, why lose 30 when you should lose 60
Dude, that
more?
shit's so fucking stupid. Because, like, and that goes back to, like, your experience and my experience are always going to be different. Because guess what? I'm so excited about it, but I watched the trailer for the Mighty Ducks show. And I did notice that Emilio Estevez gained weight. Mm-hmm. I will guarantee every dollar that I have and that I've ever earned that nobody said shit about that to him.
Probably not.
Nobody, not one person involved with that operation was like, hey, Emilio, can you like lose a few pounds?
Right.
Because they don't fucking care.
Well, and it's more
However,
acceptable.
if it was Amelia, we'd be like, we really want to get like the same kind of look as before. Mm-hmm. I bet you money on that. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's so fucking stupid. Like, you see these conversations, and I'm looking at like what the fuck was it? Saved by the Bell was just they started another new season or whatever. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, they all kind of look like when they did in high school. Mm-hmm. I'm like, and I know Tiffany Thiessen gained a few pounds.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I like Tiffany Thiessen thick. Tiffany Thiessen, man, that's my childhood dream. Like her and Topanga, God, together? Fuck me. That's just laugh if I lose my head. But like, she gained a few pounds. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm looking at the trailer and I was like, she lost a few pounds. And I was like, I wonder if that was the studio. And as much as, even if it wasn't, even if by some miracle they didn't say shit,
right?
How much of it is social expectation?
Right.
Her going into that role being like, well, people are gonna want me to be skinny or some of lose weight. So fucking stupid. So fucking stupid.
What was I gonna say? Well, I think especially too, like I would say about 5 years ago, you saw this push of like the dad bod. It's so hot and acceptable.
There was somebody who just posted something about it on TikTok who was like a dude at the gym or whatever. He's like super ripped. He's like, I don't see how y'all can like a dad bod. I'm like, people like different shit.
I don't see a problem with the dad bod. This is not a judgment on the dad bod. I just thought it was interesting that society was like, this is fine and this is sexy.
Dude,
but then but then at the same time you have all these posts that are like, oh, that one actress who's now 40 can't seem to drop the baby weight.
Dude, it's so fucking dumb. It's so incredibly ridiculous.
And I do feel that I don't think that everybody should be forced to be attracted to people who are larger, but I think that dating and being in relationships with people that are larger is becoming more acceptable, I
Yeah,
suppose.
it needs to. I think it needs to be more personality based. Like, you need to start liking people.
But
like,
still you have trouble necessarily seeing representation of all large bodies, because the ones that are still being promoted tend to still just be the like voluptuous
thick.
Yeah, it's like
2, 3 C's,
it's like
you know?
thick. Like, that's what's presented as like being plus size or overweight or
dude, plus size in Hollywood is such a joke, because this whole time we've been talking, I keep thinking back to remember Third Rock from the Sun?
Yeah.
Did you ever like see the whole series? Or
Not
like
the whole series.
There was an episode where the girlfriend Mary and like the main dude John Lithgow's character, I always forget his name, but like they went shopping.
Yeah.
And she was at a store, and she's like, "Oh, I need a size 8," and the woman's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't carry plus sizes." And she gets out of there, she's like fuming. She's like, "When did a size 8 become plus size? Like, what the
fuck?" Well, I mean, in modeling, like 8, I think, was plus size. Like in modeling, 8 was plus size. But
modeling's a whole different fucking bag of shit to get.
I'm glad to see that people are getting over like height differences. You see a lot of shorter men with taller women now than you used to, I think.
That was really some small dick shit, right? Some small dick energy shit. Like dudes who were like, I don't want a woman who's bigger than me. Like, it's like a power thing.
I guess.
Like, they don't want to feel like they're diminutive to I mean, this is fucking dumb.
I don't even like saying small dick energy, because that's like, I don't like the small dick, big dick stuff, because it's like assigning a value to size of dicks. It's just insecure stupidness. I don't know.
And see, again, that just goes back to,
you could have a dude with a small dick that's a really great guy. I think that's
and they often are because they need to make up for it, because we know people who either have self-professed a large penis or have just shared details like
a lot of people,
and they're usually assholes.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know people now who are like, I'm surprised that you it sounds stupid. It's like, I'm surprised that you have all these thoughts and you swear a lot and you don't seem to give a shit, which has taken a lot of work. But I feel... They were
surprised that you have thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But I think that I've kind of, like, I definitely worked really hard at cultivating, like, a pleasing and interesting personality to make up for all the, like, fuckery of my childhood, and recognizing that even when I was just a size 12, that I was considered bigger and had to work harder for affection.
So to combat that, you worked harder to create a more interesting personality?
I guess. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. To be fair, though, like, a lot of that is why like I was into you, as you were like, I fucking studied these languages and I went overseas, and I was like,
oh, I mean, that stuff was fun. I mean, that was just fun. That wasn't like, I wasn't like, oh, let me learn Serbian to be more marketable.
But you're like, it's funny because I remember when I was like out searching, and like I was talking to the boys, and I was like, well, like this guy, like 4 fucking rules, like no smoking, what was it? No smoking. You had to be into art of some sort. Because at first I was saying comics, but I was like, that's such a, at the time, fucking, the world has changed.
And I'm like, so not.
But at the time, it was like such a niche thing. So I was like, not into comics. Like, comics is such a, like, and even if she were into comics, like, it would be the likelihood that she'd be into the same exact kind. Because, like, I don't know that I could be with someone who's like, Superman's the greatest superhero ever. I'm like, that's just basic. That's so basic, and I can't have this conversation with you. So, like, I don't know. Like, I would need, like, an X-Men fan, like, Spider-Man fan. Like, that's complex.
I'm like an X-Men movie fan.
And I appreciate that. And, like, and you're into stuff. Like, you're into nerdy stuff, but you have nerdy shit that you're into that I like beer. You know, we talked about this before. If you guys watched the vlog. We talked about beer, and you're just like talking about all these things, and I'm just like, I don't care about these things, but I love watching you like talk about it and discuss it, and like, because you're into it and you get fucking psyched and animated about it, whereas I'm just kind of like good, better, best. Like, that's my shit. Like, this is tasty, this is not tasty. Like that in that video, the combination clip that we did where we combined beer. That's the most I've ever like analyzed beer in my life combined. Like if you took all the other times I ever thought more than a second about beer, it wouldn't add up to what that video was. So like the stuff like your interests and your like what you're into, like that's really what drew me to you. Like the fact that you knew more about my culture than I did. Like that shit's that's perplexing. So that's like interesting. So like I want to find out more, and it's just like I come to you when I have like I talk to my sisters who live in Serbia, and I can't figure something out. I don't know what something says. I don't know if I'm getting the context. Hey, read this. What are they saying? What does this mean? Right. Like I don't go to them. If you're like I don't really know, I'll be like, all right, I'll go to the fallback.
Sidebar. I'm so annoyed. Because this woman that I know, she's doing some ancestry research, and her, I think she said grandfather or great grandfather, I think, came from Croatia.
Okay.
But he was from, I mean, but again, this is like whatever year it was when her great grandpa would have been alive.
So probably
late 1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that Ottoman era?
No.
No, Ottomans left late 1700s.
So, so first of all, you're talking about like centuries ago at this point.
Yeah.
And then he's from a region that is like situated almost between like Istria on the coast.
Okay.
Like northern Istria, like Istria where it's like northern coastal.
Right.
And near Slovenia.
Okay.
And again, like I'd have to look and see like who was doing what in that area at the time. But so
it gets complicated very quickly.
She found this like church record that had some information about him, and she asked me to translate, and I was looking at it and I was like, okay, I think I understand most of it, but it was also in cursive, and it wasn't like the cleanest cursive.
Jeez.
And so I'm looking at this thing, and there's like one verb that I can't make out. And so I said, okay, let me ask my Croatian teacher. So I messaged her, and like she was able to read everything except for that word too. And without knowing what that word is, it's hard to tell what the rest of the thing says, because because
it brings context.
Normally, because it is a gendered language and it has cases, it typically makes it easy to tell who's talking about what.
Right.
But the problem here is that it is all in nominative case, so nothing changes. But on top of that, he is male, and part of what this thing is talking about is also a word that is male. And so without that verb, knowing what that is, it says like February 7th, baptismal certificate was issued and blank. That he or it, I don't know if it's referring to him or referring to the baptismal record.
Oh, shit.
He or it is either, the word I think was like vienchan, which could either be that, like some, it could either be that he is married.
Right.
Or that the record, is eternal. But I don't know what the verb is.
Oh, shit. Yeah. That's, wow.
Yeah. So like it could say it, so without knowing what the verb, I mean it didn't have like NE in front of it, so it's probably like not negative.
Right.
But and the thing is that the word could it could be a religious word that I'm not familiar with. It could be a historical word that's not used anymore.
And Croatians, you said, did like extra work to make their shit different.
But that was in recent years.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, being that close to Istria and Slovenia, it could be like
it could be a Slovenian
It could
word.
be a mixed language
or
word.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man. That's fuck that shit,
so
dude. But see, like that's the kind of shit. Like you're nerdy about languages.
Yeah.
You're a language nerd, and it's fucking like it's adorable. I won't let you.
So she was like, so at first I was like, I can't tell what this verb is. I think it says he is married. And then she was kind of like, oh, I might need to like look for marriage records. I thought he didn't get married until, you know, whatever, but maybe he had a wife and brought her over, or maybe he was widowed or something.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I started playing, and then I told her, I said, I started playing around in Google Translate, which I was like, is not super scientific, but every once in a while you get lucky. And so I said, I played around with it a little bit. I tried to kind of guess at what I thought the word was based on the, like matching up the letters and seeing like, okay, this seems to be this. Okay, it's not that. Could it be this? And it kept giving suggestions of like Latvian or Slovenian words, but even when I tried those words, it didn't make sense because the way that it was translating it made it sound like it was related to like ice or ice cream or something, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense unless it has something to do with like something being frozen. Like, could it be that something was like annulled or, you know, put on hold? I'm like, but that doesn't really make sense. But then when I played around with it, it had changed it from he is married to it is eternal. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is in reference to the certificate. And I'm like, but I don't know what the verb is. So
this is a certificate and it's issued for X
something,
which is eternal, and it
verified or was, you know, authorized. Funny. I don't know. I don't recognize the word. My Croatian teacher doesn't recognize the word. I told her she should contact the Croatian Catholic Church. They might have some more info.
Yeah.
But
it might be, yeah, that's a good call. It might be like a standard document and that just like that word's been replaced in later years.
I don't know.
Damn, that's crazy.
Talk about a tangent.
Yeah, hella tangent. But that shit's interesting. Like that shit's interesting to me. Like I'm not super into language, but like I love discussing language with you. So like, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Because the problem is, like, if you say, yeah, it was like if it almost would be any other verb, or if they were like talking about it in a different context, if you changed it, it would be easy to tell if it was talking about him or the document. Right. But it just happens to be that the way that one's written is confusing.
So, I mean, then there's, I don't want to say then there's a high chance, but then there's a chance that it could be something that's more of like a form document. Like, it's written in such a way that it can serve multiple purposes.
Well, because where it was written, it was like, it looked like it was kind of almost like just a historical records church book, where it would be like you put the person's name, you put like a date, you put like information.
Right.
And it didn't even necessarily seem like it was completely in order. It just sort of seemed in order of like when people were like searching for info. So it was like, you know, he was X amount of years old when he left. She thinks what it might be is that it's not a record of his baptism, and it's not necessarily a record of any other life event in and of itself, but it might be referring to that, like, he stopped by the church, he was issued a baptismal record and something else because he needed to gather documents for traveling to America.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So
it could be like an index, like almost like a tracker of activity.
Yeah. Well, because even the book, the text, because it was printed.
Right.
That part was in Latin because it's from a church. Sure. But then everything else seemed to be written in Croatian, but Croatian from the late 1800s.
That's crazy.
Or maybe super early 1900s, let's say.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I once my teacher in 8th grade social studies class hands me a document. I forget what it was. And he's like, "Oh, your people were here during the revolution." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he shows me a document, and I can read it. And I was like, how am I reading this? He's like, "Yeah, this is from the revolution." I was like blown away. But it was marked Bohemian.
Oh.
And I was like,
so it wasn't your
people. I was like, did they name that wrong? Like, because
You have to understand.
Because why would the language, like, I could read it.
Yeah.
Not like some words.
Oh.
I could read it.
Okay.
It was clear as day, like, I don't want to say modern Balkan, like Bosnian Serbian, Croatian, but like I could read it.
Wait, but like, was it that you fully understood it?
Yeah.
Or you were like, this is close enough that I get what
No. Like, every word.
Huh.
Like, maybe a word here and there that I couldn't.
Bohemian?
Whoever, like, I don't know. It was just, it was a document. It was a historical document from, I wish I could remember what it was from. But he was like, yeah, so he's like, can you read this? And I was like, yeah, what is this? And he's like, this is from the revolution. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I was like, how would they have even gotten here? Like boats didn't exist. Like they couldn't get on boats.
So my guess would be one of two things. Would either be that it was in fact Bosnian or similar.
Right.
And was mislabeled.
Yeah.
Or that my understanding, so like my ex who spoke Polish said that he could almost understand Czech, but that to him it sounded and read like it was like Polish 100 years ago, because Slavic languages have like common roots.
Of course.
And so if you were to go back to the revolution, it is quite possible that at the time Czech might have been more closely linked to Bosnian. I'd need to look into it, but
because what is Bohemia?
Bohemia is a part. Bohemia, I'm trying to remember. It was part of both Czech Republic and Slovakia, but Bohemia was a region of Czechoslovakia.
I see.
I think it is fully inside the Czech Republic now. It does. I don't even know that it exists anymore. I mean, there's like the region, but it's not what it was.
Sure. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. That makes sense.
But the funny thing is that my family is Bohemian, but they made a big deal of being like, essentially, we're not Czech, we're Bohemian. Because like Bohemian was more cultured, it was closer to Western Europe. It had like closer ties to Western Europe. So it was kind of like, oh, we're not villagers, we're Bohemian.
That's so interesting. So like, why is it that my only real example is Rent, but I feel like I've heard it in other like movies and shit brought up as like an artistic center, like
my understanding, and I have a loose understanding of it, is that when you refer to like people or areas as being Bohemian, it's that it's kind of free spirit and artistic because that region was known for its arts.
I see.
And they were kind of like ahead of their time for the area and sort of like led a lot of the artistic, not revolution, but like they were kind of at the forefront of a lot of stuff with like art, like Muha was really tied together with like Bohemia, I think.
Muha, man, his shit is so good.
And so like a lot of people from Austria, and like Austro-Hungarian Empire,
right?
A lot of the stuff was like happening in Bohemia, I believe.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's so very interesting. My other thought with that document was that maybe they were Bosnians, but like the Americans just like Bohemian.
I wish that you.
That's the one they knew.
I wish you knew where it was, or.
I wonder.
But that's the thing too, is that it would.
Dee works there.
Where?
At that school.
Oh.
I'm gonna ask her if he's still there. I don't know. He was already old when I was there.
It is quite possible that, because like I think there were a lot of people from Czechoslovakia in the U.S. around that time, so it is quite possible that they might have just been like, "You're Slavic, close enough."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like they just like were like, close enough.
Yeah.
You said Bosnian. Do you mean Bohemian? You probably mean Bohemian.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but I don't feel like that many people from the area came over until more recent times.
Yeah.
I'd need to look into it more. But
I mean, it was the first mention I had heard
Yeah.
of anybody pre like modern times. Especially, I was like, as far back as the Revolution, I was just kind of like that, like, because
Yeah.
then because I knew like very very loose reference to like Ottoman Empire and Austro-Hungarian
Right.
Empire. Like I knew very very loose concepts of that. Like I didn't even know what I know now, which is still very little. So like, but I was like, I guess it's possible that like somebody would have left over there.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of blown away that he had a document from 400 years ago that I could read, and I was kind of like,
I
what
think
the
my
fuck?
understanding is that, I mean, like, there was a lot of culture in Bohemia, but I also feel like they were sort of treated as like the hippies of their time. So it was sort of like that flower, like wild child,
Okay,
flower
so that
child
like
sort
kind of
of.
makes sense to how it's
You know,
portrayed
they weren't
in the song.
dressing necessarily in suits. They might have had like, you know, would have been a little bit more fashionable, but in sort of like a fun way.
Interesting, very interesting.
I'd need to look into it more, but that's my loose understanding of it.
Speaking of fashion, back to what we were originally talking about.
Is this gonna be like another podcast?
No, this is back. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to swing it back around real quick.
2 hours.
2 hours and 50 minutes.
No one wants to hear this. You better edit this the fuck down.
I mean, we're probably gonna cut 20 minutes for fucking dealing with the dog.
Cut more.
But no, like, I think
everyone I talk to says if podcast is longer than an hour, I'm out.
that's why I listen fast. I listen at high speed.
No.
I listen to high speed.
Anyway, back on track. Bring it around.
Back on track. I guess I can see the possibility there being of people who are happy in their fatness. I just think, and I could be wrong. I'm always open to being wrong. I just really want to put that out there. I say a lot of shit and it sounds like I'm stating fucking the Lord's gospel, but I'm 100% at all times willing to be wrong. I'm very much a matter of like, they talk about, oh, like, what if you practice one religion and then Jesus shows up at the end and you were wrong? Like, well, then I was wrong and we get to move on.
Right.
Like, whatever if Jesus shows up and he's like, Protestants had it right, and be like, well, fuck. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, cast down whatever fucking judgment you have, like, put me wherever you need to put me because I did not believe the Protestant way, like, whatever. To me, I'm okay with being wrong. So, like, I just don't think that most of those situations are on a mental level coming from a healthy place. I think it could very well be situations where people are overcompensating. Maybe they were hyper restricted or, hyper regulated in their lives, just in general. Like, you have to work out or you have to go do sports or you have, like, people grow up in really, really different ways. Like, I've met a lot of people who like did like legit, the shit you see in movies, like, oh, they went to like violin lessons and all this shit. And I'm just kind of like, I thought that wasn't real, like, so like I get people who are like, I don't really like music.
Yeah.
Cause like they were just forced to absorb all this music when they were young. And to the point where like they can't find enjoyment in it because they're like trying to figure it out or they're trying to like listen for notes and they just can't enjoy music. Right. So like I get that. But I think that's like a thing you got to deal with. Because that to me seems like, I'm not saying everyone needs to like music or everyone, needs to be at a certain way. But I just think that if you are ignoring the very real, like there is a very small percentage, if any percentage exists, of people that are going to have zero negative physical effects from being overweight. Mm-hmm. And if you are just ignoring that, then if you are willfully ignoring the actual real physical effects you're going to have, like joint damage, like bone damage from being overweight, if you were just ignoring that and saying you're happy to be fat, I guess I can't understand how that could come from a healthy place. because that's a real thing that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as I'm aware, there's no example of somebody living into their 80s or 90s fat and happy. You know, like
my understanding, and I might need to brush up or relook into it, is that a lot of the negative effects that people talk about if you're fat do not necessarily affect you so much just because you're fat. Like a lot of people that need knee surgery, fat or not fat, is like about the same. People who have heart attacks, fat or not fat, is like, it's not like grossly so skewed towards people being fat or something.
Right. It increases risks. It increases a lot of risks. But I just mean like, I don't even mean like internal stuff, because internal stuff is super highly dependent on biology. But I just mean like weight, you know, like knee surgery, hip surgery, that stuff. Like the more weight you're carrying, the older you get, your bones disintegrate naturally. So at some point, the more weight you have, the harder that transition is going to be. Like when your bones start to get weaker, which they will, everyone's bones get weaker over time.
But I think part of the reason you don't see a lot of older, like way older people that are fat too, is that your metabolism changes again.
You're saying people just like will naturally lose weight?
Like my great aunt ate the worst shit all the time, and she was small. So
I don't know.
I just think the knee-jerk reaction shouldn't be that when you go to a doctor and say, you know, I've got this skin problem, that they're like, you have to lose the weight.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
Or
I hate that
like
shit.
when I showed up at the doctor and I'm like, I was doing this thing, this specific thing, and then I noticed that this was bothering me and it's continued to bother me.
Right.
And they were like, well, you're overweight and you're getting older. And I'm like, I'm 145 pounds and I'm 25. What?
That doesn't, dude, that.
What?
And again, that just goes back to the same fucking concept that we kept talking about, is your experience and mine are always going to be different.
Yeah.
The first time I went to see a GP, which granted was not till I was like 27 or 28 or however old I was. The first time, he damn near tiptoed around the idea that I was fat. And I was blown away. I was just like, this guy can't talk science.
Oh.
This is science. We're not talking like I'm not. He's not addressing my feelings. I'm not crying my eyes out here. He literally couldn't ask me. Like he was like, so, how long have you been at this weight?
Well,
I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
What you have to understand though is that like bullying and shaming, a lot of people feel, and this was kind of confirmed in the post on Facebook that went out of control, that a lot of people still feel that like you have to shame people into doing what you feel is right, and it's your obligation to
stupid.
make people uncomfortable if they aren't uncomfortable already, to get the results you want. And the studies time and time again show that it doesn't work. People feel worse about it. Then they're just fat and unhappy. Instead of just being fat and maybe wanting to do something to improve, right, and doing some like little steps. Like that's the thing, is the people want all or nothing. Oh, it's not good. You know, you're overweight. It's not good enough that you like lose 5 pounds and your blood pressure is where it should be. You're still 20 pounds overweight. It's not good enough.
It gets real dumb real fast with shit like that. It's very much a matter of, and it's how people talk about it. When you tiptoe around it and when you try to like not make it an issue, when someone is like clear, like everyone's aware that they're fat. There's nobody walking around that's like, I don't think I'm fat.
And that's the thing, is a lot of people think people somehow don't recognize it.
Yeah, like they don't know.
And it's
they
like,
don't know.
No, trust me, society's telling me all the time. We know.
Yeah, like no, I'm reminded every time when I have to pick where I'm sitting, when I have to consider if I can eat. That's why we haven't done any restaurants, even outdoor seating this year, obviously on top of Corona, but like we haven't tried outdoor seating because almost every single restaurant uses the same seats and my big ass can't fit in them.
Right. So
I've just flat out been like, I don't want to do outdoor seating.
Yep.
I'm not even considering it a possibility. So like it doesn't make sense to try to all he wants to do is go to bed.
Anyway, this was a great chat.
You're done? Yeah. Just gonna walk away. This is my problem. This is what it comes down to. This whole thing has just been a one-man intervention.
Something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah, the idea that like shaming people into action, it's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. And really, at the end of the day, even under the guise of caring about people's weight and whatever the fuck else people try to say to like justify why they're being assholes, it's none of your fucking business.
Right.
Like I say, there's nobody out there being happy that they're fat. End of the day, I don't really care. I'm just I care on a level of there are people expecting shit to bend to them because they're overweight and they don't want to adjust their thoughts or their actions. They don't want to be like, all right, well, I can get my clothes here, here, and here and go shop there. They're like, no. All these other places also need to have clothes for me.
Right.
Like, aside from the fact that there are clearly bad decisions, like people have money, they want to give you the money, make the things. That's stupid. I don't know why you wouldn't want, like, as Abercrombie and Fitch or Aeropostale,
well,
whoever
because they were trying to like protect their brand image.
Yeah,
they
and that
had
shit's
an
dumb.
image of what they wanted.
Exactly, and that shit's dumb. And I think that's at some point when your margin becomes real slim, and you're not making a lot of money, you're suddenly going to see motherfuckers start expanding their fucking size base. The problem is, then there's going to be options, because that's right now businesses are being built around larger people. People are making stuff like DXL is not the only place where I can buy t-shirts anymore. DXL is not the only place where I can buy t-shirts anymore. And, I have options, which means I don't have to buy the 12, Star Wars or Marvel or whatever pop culture t-shirts. I can make my own t-shirts. I can wear my own shit. Like, there are options all over the fucking place. So, like, DXL now has to go overboard on customer service. Last time we went there, when I was getting fitted for Celeste's wedding, that dude stayed with us the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, when I still was buying like 3 or 4 pieces. The guy was like, all right, you're going to find that here. Let me know if you need me, and walked away.
Well, but I think it also depends. I think it depends on the salesperson. I think
it
also depends on how busy they are. And it probably also heavily depends on like what type of commissions they might be doing. If they're doing commissions.
There's of course that. There's a lot of factors in most things. But end of the day, it's like my opinion about somebody else's like being fat or their appearance or any of that shit doesn't fucking matter. My opinion, your opinion, it doesn't matter. You tell me, like, now we are in a relationship. You tell me, hey, I'm not attracted to you. Like, this is a problem. If I don't process that, that's obviously going to damage our relationship.
Right.
Like, I have to take into account like, your opinion matters because we are in a relationship. If you are not in a direct relationship with somebody, their opinion doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Like, I walk down the street, every single neighbor could tell me, what's up, fatty?
Right.
I would just be like, might be time to move. These guys are assholes.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to think. I'm not going to be like, fuck you. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah. It's always hard to know what you should or shouldn't say to people about their appearance or health, because I think on one level, like, if you notice something about someone and you're worried about them, like, you want to show concern one way or another, but at the same time, it's none of your business and it could be hurtful. So I think that's hard. That's why I try, when I see people who have lost or gained weight, I don't really make any comments about it, because like, I know people who have lost weight because they were incredibly sick.
Right.
But the mentality tends to be that if people lose weight,
that they
did it with purpose, and that it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And so I did see, I went to a party and I saw somebody who I hadn't seen in a while, and he had lost a significant amount of weight. And one of our other friends commented on it, but I felt she did it in a pretty decent way that was like, kind of like, oh wow, I haven't seen you in a long time. you look really different. Was it intentional? Or, you know, something like that.
Hey,
or like good reason, bad reason.
Yeah, that's a really it wasn't
considerate
like you
look so good.
Yeah, that's a really considerate way to broach that subject.
After she said what she said, he basically was like, it wasn't from a good thing. And I don't know what that was. It could be anything.
Right. It could be any number of things. But that's a really
it's
a really considerate way to bring that up.
And it's hard too, because like there's some people I know that like I think they've looked better when they've gained weight, but I don't know how they feel about it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like on a super superficial level, Jessica Alba. There was a period where she lost like way more weight.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, nah, you look weird and unhealthy. Like you look like you might break. And I was like, 5, maybe 10, like whatever you were at before, do that. Like, you know, like my opinion fucking matters. But at the same time, I genuinely felt like she looked like she might be sick.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's like, I think there is a too skinny. I think there is, we watched the thing the other day where
there's also people who are too skinny that can't help it. Like that's
just
their metabolism.
Of course. It's a whole different situation. I mean, like Dino fought for like a year and a half to gain weight.
Yeah.
And like lifting. Like I've never
I had that problem.
I've never in my life seen somebody with a concave chest, and this boy had a concave chest. I was like, I don't even know how that happens. Like, how does your body create that? Like, that's not how bodies are shaped.
Like, and the thing too is that like I know people who have lost weight, and I think they looked fine before, and I think they look fine now. Subjectively, I subjectively think that they look better.
Right.
But I also know that the reason they lost that weight is because they had a vital organ removed that makes it harder for them to eat certain foods. So, like, they have no choice but to not eat stuff that was making them weigh more.
Well, it's like, what's her face? I don't know. I always forget her damn name. But, like, the woman she was on The View, but I think they fired her after she got, like, bypass.
I don't
She, like, gastric bypass. I always forget her name.
I don't watch The View.
But when she got her bypass and she lost a shit ton of weight, she looked like a fucking bobblehead because her head's huge.
Well, that happens. The thing you have to understand, though, is that a lot of people that have gastric bypass or that lose, like, a crazy amount of weight, there tends to be it's like your metabolism goes into overdrive and you don't necessarily know what you are or aren't doing, and you lose more weight than you intend, and then it comes back. Like, I have a friend who... she was like about the size that I am now, and when she was like in high school and like starting college, I want to say, and then she kind of I think was sort of like binge eating. She wasn't purging or anything, but she would like binge eat, and she finally kind of got a hold of that because she was because she realized that she had a small bone structure, and she was kind of like, I actually have like probably a naturally slim figure. I'm just abusing food. Right. And so then when she
just like just came to that.
Yeah. Well.
God bless, man.
I mean, so
I just mean like some people need like therapist intervention for that shit.
She kind of thought of it a little bit, but so what triggered it was that she had like a really kind of toxic relationship, I guess, or like mutually destructive relationship.
Okay.
And when they broke up for what was, I don't know, like the 5th time,
Jesus,
and might have been the last time finally, she was so depressed that she stopped eating for a few days, which is not good. Right. But if you don't eat for a while, then you have trouble like eating bigger portions when you go back to eating. Right. And she also didn't know what to do with herself, so she started biking everywhere. And I think she was biking like, I don't know, 20 miles a day. So she lost...
That'll do it.
Yeah, so she went from probably like a size 12, 14 down to like a size 2 in a year.
Jesus Christ.
And she was like getting frustrated because it was way more weight than she even intended to lose. Right. But she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've got this new metabolism with the lifestyle I started living, and like I can't keep the weight on now. And she finally did get to a point where she gained some more. Because I said to her, too, I was like, like, I want to be supportive, but I'm worried about you. And she was like, I'm worried about me too. Don't worry.
Jeez.
And so she finally did gain some more weight. And then I felt subjectively that she seemed to look and feel better than she had when she had been overweight and abusing food. Admittedly, she admitted that she was abusing food. But she definitely looked better than when she was like skeletal, which was not intended.
Yeah, and that's the thing is people's everybody's situation is different. I mean, like I said with Dino, he was eating because he was really into basketball at the time, so he was lifting to just try to be stronger, and he was into basketball, so he was doing ridiculous amounts of cardio because he was on the school team, so he was just constantly in practice. So he was ridiculous amounts of cardio. He was eating like 6,000 calories a fucking day, and he couldn't keep weight.
Well, that's like swimmers.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, depending on your activity level and like what you're doing,
right?
Everything changes. Fucking everything changes. So like, yeah, it is very individual. Like, weight is a very individual thing, and we have, as a society, unfortunately, done what we always fucking do.
Yeah.
And we prop up everybody that fits into a little box. We shove them all in that box, and we tell them they all have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you got to eat less and you got to work out more. Well, that's really detrimental to some people's lives.
Exactly.
Like, so like it's just, it goes to prove my overall fucking statement of stop generalizing shit. Like, generalizing shit is just dangerous because.
And start accepting the fact that there could actually be fat people who genuinely love being fat people.
And that's fine. Again, end of the day, it makes no difference to me. If there are people who are enjoying being fat, they love the whole fat experience, God bless. End of the day, that's all I'm looking for. As long as they're not the ones getting on the internet, bitching about how XYZ doesn't carry their size, or XYZ place doesn't have a size seat for them, or whatever the fuck. Like, I ain't never yell at no fucking restaurant because they didn't have an outdoor seat for me. I ain't never yell at a restaurant because a booth was a certain size,
but I guess
and I can't necessarily fit in that booth. Because
you can sit, I mean, provided that the chair is structurally sound.
Right.
You can sit in just about any chair as long as it doesn't have arm rests.
Correct.
So
most booths are very uncomfortable. So knowing,
I mean, so there's some chairs that even I'm not comfortable in,
right.
And I would prefer that there's no armrests.
Sure.
So how, if you have to buy chairs already, how hard is it to get chairs that don't have armrests?
So this is the difference. Armrests contribute to structural integrity. Outdoor chairs stay outdoors year round, year over year. And when they buy 20 chairs, those are the 20 chairs they're going to have for 10 years, unless one breaks. So the more structurally sound they are, they basically have to be wrought iron or, cast iron, and they have to be shaped a certain way so that they don't break. If you don't have armrests, the back is likely to break off because they're very, you see them, they're very thin metal, but the more connections you have, the stronger it is. So they don't want to buy another one because they only get a discount if they buy 40,
I suppose.
It's a whole complex mathematical situation, but that's, as somebody who, even though the average, I will say, even the average weight and the average size in America has gone up year over year, every year, I think. We are no longer number one. Obviously, Mexico took number one spot for the largest country. But we are still, our averages are still going up.
Right.
I would say in big part because of acceptance, because of you don't have to force yourself into a size 6.
Right.
You can just live. And whatever you live is what we're going to cater to. Like, you don't have to live here for us to, give you clothes and seating and all this shit.
Something else you have to understand, though, too, is that a lot of stuff has, a lot of seats and things have been downsized to try to get as many people in as possible.
Exactly.
So, like, on airlines, I don't know, 50 years ago, like it might not have been a problem to fit some of the people that are having problems now. I'm not saying that it's
which is
I
ironic because they didn't have as many of those people back then.
I guess I don't know. Well, but you did. It's just a lot. I mean, you didn't have as many,
right?
But you had those people, but they just stayed inside because they knew they weren't welcome.
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't necessarily know where to draw the line because on the one hand, it's kind of like if you have to give 2 seats to a single person, you're missing out on the opportunity to get those 2 seats paid for.
You still have to pay for them.
No, well, okay. Then what's the fucking problem? I don't know.
There isn't
I guess.
One. It's just that you as a fat person have to pay for 2 seats.
But that is a problem.
It's fat tax.
But I don't know what the solution is.
I mean, at this size, and I am, like I said, even though the average has gone up, like the average, size and weight of Americans has gone up, I am still far above average in both size and weight. Mm-hmm. Again, I am the cardinal sin of fat. I am fat and tall.
But I suppose even if you lost, like, let's say that you got down to like a 3X, I think you'd still,
ideally,
in most cases, would need 2 seats, and if you were to try and sit in a regular.
We went to California, dude.
Yeah, but we flew first class.
We flew first class, but like we could get a bulkhead seat or whatever the fuck it's called, the front seat. We went first class for legroom, not for seat size.
They're significantly larger.
Get out of here.
They
significantly? Significantly.
Yes.
Well, then I will continue flying first class. God damn it. I'll fly first class.
You're probably getting like this much more seats.
Get out of here.
So like if I fly most
Hold on.
airlines,
we gotta look this up.
I'm usually able to just get my ass in the seat. I would say most airline seats are about the size of this chair. But then there's armrests.
Yeah. I can fit in that. Because I'm fitting in this chair right now.
That chair's bigger.
No, it's not.
Yes.
It's not.
It is.
It's not. I fit in that chair.
Also, your hips are going through the
right, but if I lost weight.
Well, I suppose, maybe.
Ideally, if I'm losing weight, I'm losing it in
Look it
up. Economy. Whoa, I don't know what that changed. Economy, airline.
Seat measurements or whatever.
Seat.
Dimensions.
Dimensions. There we go.
Yeah. So, like, what's the width?
The average seat pitch. Is that where you sit?
That might be how far back you can go.
Oh, that's the leg room. How wide is an economy airline seat? You're right. It has been decreasing.
Yeah.
In 1985, one of the main 4 U.S. carriers offered a seat. None of the 4 main carriers offered a seat less than 19 inches wide. Since the beginning of the 21st century until 2018, the average seat width decreased from 18.5 to 17 inches, and sometimes as low as 16.1 inches. That's one cheek.
I think I've been in that
That's
chair.
one cheek.
Okay,
I can't do that.
So 17.5, right? 17.5.
Sure.
What's a first class seat?
That's one cheek. Oh my god.
I bet you it's like 20 inches.
First class. Seat pitch. Well, I want the latter. To be fair. But anyway. It says international first class. Oh, here we go. Domestic. 18 to 22 inches of width.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, 17.5 and 18 are not that wide.
But I don't think that's what we were in. We were in a larger one.
I don't think... Because that was like a 727. That was an American Airlines. That was an old plane. I don't think those front seats were that much bigger than the back. Because it's not like they made room for an extra seat in the back. We had I guarantee you we had the same amount of rows in the front and the back.
But
I think there was just more
leg
leg
room. First class, it's 2 seats. In back, it's 3.
On the left? Like on the windows?
They do like 3 and 2 on a lot of planes.
There's 3 in the middle.
No. Well, so there's different planes. There's ones where there's 2. There's ones where there's typically like 2 and 2 and 3.
Right.
International are like 5 and 2 and 1 or something.
Right.
The one we were on, I think, was some of them are 3 and 2, some are 3 and 3.
Right. I don't know, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. 16.
Yeah.
Dude. I would say probably you couldn't fit in 16 inches.
16 inches is probably like Spirit Airlines, and I fit in it, and it's not comfortable. I had to like lift my cheeks.
Fuck that shit, dude.
Yeah. So,
if you're not comfortable,
no,
I definitely need 2 seats.
I mean, but that was Spirit Airlines. But no.
What you're saying is I should never get on Spirit.
Even now.
No, I think just for my weight, I should never get on Spirit Airlines.
Even now, flying on ones that aren't Spirit, like, I'm not comfortable in those seats. Like, I will tolerate it, but I don't like it.
Right. Listen. We got to start earning more money and fly first class. And when we go internationally, we'll take Emirates. We'll have a shower. You get your own like little cabin.
Stop. Bob! I think he's scratching at the bedroom door. What are you doing? Come here.
Dumbass. All right. Well, anyway, we're gonna fly Emirates. We're gonna have a shower, and we're gonna have all the amenities.
He wants to go to bed.
I think that's what's gonna happen. I don't even know if we had a point here. If we got to a point, I think
we need to edit this. So
I think we had an interesting conversation. Yeah. That's pretty fat.
I will maybe take the time to listen to your podcast that's going to make me angry. If you agree to listen to my podcast that will be too liberal for you.
Which one?
You're wrong about the obesity epidemic, and you're wrong about the, the presidential fitness exam.
I don't care about the president's fitness.
Okay, but it relates to this in a lot of ways.
The president is the least important person in this country.
That's great. It really has almost nothing to do with the president.
Okay.
It's a thing you do in school. Everyone does it. It's stupid.
Also, it's a very short podcast. You're going to give me hour-long podcasts, 2-hour-long podcasts,
45 minutes.
In exchange for my one, maybe 30-minute podcast.
Yes. What's that? Oh, your computer.
Yeah, one of the computers spinning up. Yeah, probably. We'll see. I mean, listen, I'm willing to listen to them. I'll listen to them at fast speed. I'll get it done in one day. You
so
can.
It will be half an hour.
You can listen to stuff faster.
I cannot.
I bet you can.
I cannot.
I bet you can.
I cannot.
I'm saying, scientifically speaking, you can.
I can, and I will be so focused on how much I hate it that I won't actually learn anything.
That's fair. You should try the fast reading.
Maybe.
You should try the fast reading. That'll be interesting.
Okay.
That's going to be it for this one. If you listened this far, if you watched this far, we're going to just do this on YouTube. If you're listening, if you are somehow a listener of this podcast and I don't know about it, drop a comment on the YouTube video. That's on the T3G Tangents podcast, T3G Tangents YouTube channel. Drop a comment on this video, and I will personally send you a $10 Amazon gift card. First 5 people. If 5 people show up. Yeah. So, because I appreciate anybody that gets this far and listens to the whole thing. I appreciate you. That's going to be it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.